Tucson, Arizona. Night of December 14. Sunrise, 7:17 a.m. You pick Elena up at Covenant Pawn Shop, then drive to the Viper. You tune the BMW's radio to hear the news. Instead you get an interview. About 4 deaths linked to this nightclub, including Greg's suicide and the apparent murder of a police officer. Well, you say linked, Alan, Mel Pomini says. But what kind of link is there? Then there was the attack on the migrant camp, all the news about that genetic research facility, and what about the sudden dissolution of the 2100X? You recognize that voice, it's Alan Corbo, the bookstore owner. 21. A global conspiracy to shape our lives in the year 2100. Greg and I heard someone talk about that once. He said that we all thought about the year 2000, but no one is thinking about the year 2100. Isn't that weird? It's like we can't imagine a future for our race anymore. It's like someone took all those plans we had for the future. Where did they go? That's about all the time we. Why can't we think of the future anymore, Miss Chen? They already took our past, our heritage, and they're taking. As always, Alan, thank you for your time. Mel at midnight starts talking about movie star gossip. You check the local news over and over before you head out, because though you have a long trip ahead of you, the roads just get more and more dangerous. And you can feel a change in Tucson. Agents of the Inquisition are everywhere. So you approach carefully, ready to take your BMW through the nearest gas station parking lot to get away in case there's trouble. You're half expecting to find a crater where the nightclub used to be. Instead it's ... hopping. Even at this early hour, the parking lot is so packed that you can't even get valet parking. You stash your BMW around the corner and roll the passenger window down so an oil will terrify anyone who gets near. The new bouncer has no idea who you are, but you just slip past him and signal Alexander. I think we're celebrating the end, Alexander says over the Gogol Bordello cover band. Are you even allowed to be open? Elena asks. Not really, Alexander says. But we have paid off a few people for now. And we need money, and Leto. He is worried. I think that the crowds reassure him. Both of us grew up in the countryside, you see. So much silence. We crave crowds when times are bad. I'm supposed to be picking up some ground-penetrating radar, you say. Alexander points to a pair of heavy plastic storage containers on the foldable push dolly. You and Elena strap the containers onto your BMW. You're delivering to a motel across the border in California, Alexander says. He tosses you an old film canister. Inside, address, passcodes, snapshots of your contacts. Just delivering? You ask. You have a good relationship with the Camarilla right now, and you don't want any confusion to arise if they try to screw you. Unless Prince Leto tells you otherwise, Alexander says. Leto won't be able to contact me. But the old ghoul just walks away. You're heading west this time, just over the California border, to the lawless region that was once called the Anarch-Free States. It's a frustrating drive, since you could blast down Route 8 through Yuma in just a few hours, but that road will be crawling with cops. Instead you'll have to drive northwest to avoid the sea, skirting Phoenix before you wind through artificially irrigated farm country worked by migrant labor until you hit the desert. The halfway point is just nearly empty sprawl for miles and miles. You'll have to be careful as sunrise approaches so you don't find yourself stranded. You ask yourself the same question as the last 2 times, where can you find shelter during the day? You did fine last time, but who knows what awaits you on the road west. I send Elena in her Datsun to secure a place. I'll have to look like a calm and composed leader to get her to go into danger first. Com plus leadership, it's better to avoid settlements and the endless police patrols. I'll use my survival skills and patience to find a cave or some other shelter outside of town. Rees plus survival, I'll head into the wilds outside of town and sink into the earth to avoid discovery. Protean, I head for the largest town and stick to the hardest streets I can find, sleeping in sewers or underpasses to stay out of trouble. Wit plus streetwise, I use one of my many falsehoods and bluff my way through check-in at a mid-range motel. A few easy lies will keep the Inquisition off my trail. Man plus subterfuge, my vampiric charm will help me bluff my way into a room at a mid-range motel. Presence, it should be easy to throw some money around and stay someplace nice. I'll have to rely on charm and persuade people not to pay much attention to me. Char plus persuasion, my unnatural charm will help me smooth over any difficulties whilst there aren't a lot of high-end hotels where you're going, but your research turns up some fancy B&Bs, and most accept pets. After loading some extra scanning equipment into Elena's Datsun and watching her take off, you once again contemplate the best place to stop for the day. After some deliberation, it seems like your best bet is right at the Arizona-California border. A town there has a NEOP, which means it's civilization. The drive is in fact quite beautiful under the moonlight, marred only by the frustration you feel knowing that you could shave hours off this trip. You pass all sorts of grummy motels until you pull into a tasteful little B&B. You throw on your dress so you look the part and head inside. This is nice. Not ostentatious, but quiet. A good place to recover from a drug habit, maybe. But you don't like how the clerk is watching you. You know your way around predators, and you're not sure what the clerk wants or what they know, but Inoya's ears are back. With dawn increasingly close, you race across town to a smaller but equally well-reviewed bed and breakfast. It takes you almost a half hour to find anyone who can check you in, and by then your patience is badly strained. Nonetheless, you smile through the preliminary conversation before the clerk hands you a key card. You get Inoya inside and slam the door to your room just as the sun peaks over the western horizon. You use your scabbarded sword to close the blinds, then collapse as exhaustion overtakes you. As you get back on the road heading west, you once again scan your review mirrors for signs of pursuit. But it looks like you're clear. You head for the deep desert. Traveling back into this desert feels like traveling back in time. You can almost smell the carpeting in Julian's old geo-tracker. The mold around the water bottles you left in the desert so Ramos would stay under the sand and leave everyone alone. But now the Elder is waking up, and his rise will draw the entire Second Inquisition down on you. You check your maps, then turn off the main highway. Mesas rise up on either side of the road, black against the stars. You were expecting some kind of scientific way station, maybe just tents and trailers. But your address points you to the Desert View Motel. Its neon vacancy sign flashes in the darkness. There's a payphone on the road just outside the hotel. You know every payphone in Arizona, but not in California, and you instinctively memorize this one's location. But the receiver is off its hook. And there's blood on the outer case. Trouble. I reach for my gun. Someone might be hurt. Alert for threats. I slow down to check for casualties. I'm not getting wasted out here. I keep moving, then I'll circle back once I'm sure there's no trouble. What about my Camarilla contacts? Are they okay? I need to meet them to finish this job. I scan for anyone I recognize. You gun the engine and get into the left-hand lane, accelerating smoothly away from the scene. A quarter mile up the road, you turn around, kill your lights, and drift back the way you came. From this direction, the neon lights of Desert View Motel illuminate something, a body, face up on the asphalt. Still not leaving the BMW, you pop the passenger door so Enoa can sniff out the body. You lean across the car's cabin to look. Male, middle-aged, disemboweled by a knife or claw. Then an engine roars to life in the parking lot, and two headlights illuminate your car. But the vehicle approaches slowly and indirectly, with the stately grace of someone unconcerned with blood on the streets. A 1925 Rolls-Royce Phantom Eco Black rolls up to you, and the mirrored window rolls down. "Celeste, it's wonderful to finally see you," Prince Leto says. "We've had some complications." The Rolls is stuffed with mechanical equipment, like Leto is going to build another, slightly smaller luxury car out here. What are those thick wires for? Holding up an antenna? And there's something wrapped in it up on the roof. Another car rolls down the street. When you turn to look, you think you see the brake lights of Elena's Datsun, but you can't be sure. There are a few other cars parked here, including a Fisker, a brand new electric SUV, fairly expensive for what it offers. Enoya, eager to get out of your car, runs around the parking lot until she spots Riga perched atop the hotel's neon sign. The eagle watches you incuriously as Prince Leto steps out of his coupe. He's abandoned his white linen in favor of a black diesel jacket, heather gray tee, jeans, and heavy boots. He looks almost human. "Riga warned me that my people were under attack," Leto says as he drags the corpse away from the street to join a dozen others. Some are naked and filthy. Two have decayed into husks. "I was, as you can see, too late. I thought you ran a more professional operation, Prince. How many people did we lose? Who did it? And are we still in danger? But the equipment is still safe. We might still be able to do this." "Possibly, but we are still in danger," Prince Leto says. "Rira Mouse called creatures out of the wasteland to attack my people, and there are always more such servitors. And this work is complex. My fear now is that they killed my technical contact for this operation." "Technical contact, you say?" "A specialist on ground-penetrating radar technology," Prince Leto says. "Mine is a small court, Celeste, and I do not employ every kind of expert. So I must look elsewhere. But I'm told he's the best." "I am," Julian Sim says. He points at the corpses. "What happened to all your guys, Leto?" "Oh my god, is that a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine?" Julian asks. Dressed in a blue-grey coverall like when he carried water for the Camarilla, he pops the hood of Leto's car and starts poking around. "Ah, Mr. Sim. You're the one plotting to bring down the Masquerade from behind his laptop. Give me one good reason I should not destroy you, Anarch," Prince Leto says. "You need to stop saying destroy, man," Julian says. "It lets everyone know you're a vampire." "That goes double for you, Leto, since you have a Dracula accent." "I do not have a Dracula accent. Yes, it is a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. I learned to fly before I learned to drive." "First," Julian says, "you need me to set up the imaging equipment to find Rira Mouse. I want to stop Rira Mouse as badly as you do, which is why I'm here." and I really do know what I'm doing, unlike your favorite courier. Second, have you ever heard of a dead man's switch? Every 2 weeks I type in a code that prevents 50 gigabytes of Masquerade violations from going right to the Latimes and research institutes around the world. Third, you don't get to hear the third reason, because something rushes out of the desert, silent as an owl, knocks you onto the asphalt, and leaps onto Prince Leto. He hurls it away, clipping Julian so the Banu Hakim falls backward against your BMW. The thing lands on its feet and knuckles. You almost have time to look at it, but then it rushes the three of you again, still moving so fast it's only a grey blur in the night, outlined by the hazy neon of the assign. Inoya sprints for your position, but she's all the way across the parking lot. She'll never make it in time. The grey blur leaps. I protect Julian. I protect Prince Leto. I protect myself. The imaging equipment. I get between the attacker and the gear on top of my BMW. You're here to do a job, and you're not going to let this thing mess that up. You get its attention, lure it away from your BMW, then dodge its blurring fist. But its huge hand grabs you by the wrist, lifts you up, slams you into the ground with bone-shattering force. Your unnatural resilience saves you from being pulped, but the impact still hurts. The monster lets go of your wrist, then raises a foot to crush you. Then Prince Leto drives his hand through the monster's back so his clawed fingers burst out its chest. The moment it's restrained, you recognize your attacker, the white from when you came across that migrant family just after your old CRX broke down for the last time. You recognize the hideous face of the Nosferatu, and the dead, empty eyes of a vampire consumed by its beast. "Hello, old friend," Prince Leto says. "You two are acquainted?" Julian asks, keeping his distance as the Nosferatu hammers ineffectually on the prince. "Modian is a child of Ramos," Leto says. "A scholar and a visionary. You would have liked him, Julian. His shadow arts helped create the Tucson Elysium. But he ran afoul of Jasper Knowles, and the warlock stripped him of his humanity and turned him into this. What a shame." The prince grabs Modian's spine just above the heart and drips it out. The white topples forward, and all three of you back away as it rots like a sped-up version of a rat left in the sun. In seconds, nothing remains but corruption and the reek of death. Prince Leto cleans himself up in one of the empty motel's bathrooms. "It will be dawn soon," he says. "We'll rest during the day, then assemble the equipment tomorrow evening." His voice permits no dissent. You spend an hour dragging corpses into the motel's storage shed. No one is left alive, and you have no idea where Elena is, though you've seen her Datsun. The Desert View Motel saw long-term use by Leto's people, meaning one room is equipped for vampires. As the junior member of this endeavor, you get the folding cot while Leto and Julian take twin beds. You dream of flying over the desert, matching lines on maps to sand-covered roads far below. The roar of engines, the smell of gasoline. Not dreams, memories. Ayla, stirring in your blood. When you wake up the next evening, Prince Leto is watching you from the armchair beside your cot, his fingers steepled. He seems to be calculating what to say. "Celeste," he says, "before you became a courier, she was helping me keep Ramos under the sand," Julian says, stepping out of the shower in a cloud of steam. Distracted by Julian's banging around, Prince Leto drops his question. He casts a sympathetic glance your way as he crosses to the window and opens the metal louvers installed to keep the light out. Leto peers outside. He's looking east again. You wonder if the beckoning The mysterious call that's pulling all the elders to the Middle East has touched him, too. There appears to be a young woman investigating my car, he says. Oh thank God, Julian says. Food. That would be rude, Leto says. She's Celeste's retainer. The pawnbroker? Julian says. Celeste, Prince Leto says, retrieve your servant. In 5 minutes, you and a skeptical-looking Elena join a freshly coiffed Julian and the Eagle Prince around your BMW. I can feel him moving out there, Leto says, staring off to the south. He knows we're planning something. He knows I've wanted to destroy him for years. You should have destroyed him before Celeste and me fed all those Mexicans to him, you prick, Julian says, fiddling with the zipper of his coverall. Elena laughs, then realizes Julian wasn't joking. Julian, the Eagle Prince says, you will locate Ramos with the equipment Celeste brought. Once we find him, we will strike shortly before dawn. I have prepared a stake sufficient to pierce even his old hide. That easy, huh? Julian says. No, but your plan is ridiculous, convoluted, and dangerous, Julian says. And you have a better one? Absolutely, Julian says. We use Stonehenge to teleport him to Mesopotamia. As I get older, Leto says, I find that I have less patience, not more. Haven't you been following the news? Julian snarls. Those monoliths that no one can explain? They had a guy from the university claiming they were a Victorian hoax. You remember that from the radio? I know a great deal about the history of this land, Leto says. The pre-Columbian people here did not make Stonehenges. No, Julian says. The Sabbat did. Leto starts to bare his fangs. Elders don't like surprises, and they don't like games. Hear him out, I tell Leto. Sometimes he has good ideas. Julian, we're burning starlight. You need to check the scanning equipment and then we need to go. What the hell are the Sabbat? All I know is everyone said to be afraid of them, and now everyone says they're gone. I'm not getting involved. I just signal Elena to keep her distance. A degenerate sect of vampires, Prince Leto says. The Sword of Cain, Julian says. They rejected their humanity and the primacy of the Masquerade, Leto says, organized themselves into feral packs, aped the rituals of the church. Diablerists. The word hits you like a shaft of sunlight. They had a sacred cause to destroy the eldest vampires before they awoke and devoured their children, Julian says. The Camarilla saw only the ravening hordes shock troops created to claim territory. The leaders of the sect were mystics and philosophers. And before the beckoning drew elders to the Middle East and encouraged the Sabbat to chase after them. He continues, Sabbat sorcerers were experimenting with kinds of blood sorcery that even the Tremere couldn't imagine. They understood how to connect two places. Go on, Leto says, eyes narrowed. They built something out in the desert, a copy of a place that has existed in the Middle East, forgotten for millennia. A fragment of a ruined city. The places ... the places are the same, do you understand? The stones out there, Leto says, pointing out to the deep desert. And the stones of a city in the Middle East? Exactly, Julian says. And with a few words, and a bit of blood, you can move between them. Or move something between them. Like Ramos. Why fight something that's half a god? Dump him on the Sabbat on the other side of the world. Let them deal with him. An interesting idea, Leto says. So you? No, Leto says. Celeste, please double-check the equipment. I want to leave in 15 minutes. Julian whines even as he's organizing the ground-penetrating radar equipment, which looks like a lawnmower with a tablet on top. Your scientific acumen means you handle calibration of the antenna while Elena checks inventory. You try to ignore how hungry you are. Leto, whose brain does not quite reach the radar age, just checks the extra gas cans while casually deflecting Julian's arguments. Finally, the prince holds up his hand and says, "Enough. Your idea is interesting, but first we need to find Rira Mouse. And to find him, we need to make sure we are safe out in the desert." "Why are you worried?" Julian says. "You can just sink into the dirt." "I am going to sink you into the dirt if you do not stop." You tune out the arguing. "You've been thinking about that, too. You might be away from the motel for more than one night." Elena brought plenty of food and water, but the desert sun will turn you to ash. And it's time to go. I'm trained in desert survival, and I'm clever enough to spot a cave before the sun comes up. Wit plus survival, I use my keen senses to enhance my desert survival skills. Auspex, I borrow Leto's maps. I can use my knowledge of cartography to find a place to stay. And plus academics, survival in the desert is a question of geology and scientific acumen. I study the landscape around me. And plus technology, I use my keen senses to help me recognize geological formations I can use to find cover. Auspex, I'll be with 3 people who can figure that out. My job is to drive steadily and take my car over all this rough terrain so everyone else can pay attention. Reese plus drive, if these two would just stop bickering, they could look for Rira Mouse and find cover from the sun. Whenever we stop, I persuade the vampires to work together. You repack the equipment once you're sure the antenna works. Leto and Julian take the lead in the prince's Rolls-Royce, which crunches over the rough terrain with the ease and arrogance of a Land Rover, while you and Elena follow in your BMW to serve as rear scouts and as an emergency vehicle in case a century-old luxury car breaks down. The Rolls-Royce stops an hour before sunrise. "We're close," the prince says. He's standing next to a crushed plastic water carton. The rocky soil looks churned and uneven. Inoya paws at it, whining faintly. You've been studying the natural formations, looking for a place that your knowledge of geology tells you is safe. When you speak, it's with more confidence than you feel. "A mile that way," you say. "I recognize the signs of limestone caverns." "Better than burning," Julian says. You park both cars halfway up a mesa. The view is spectacular, with the stars paling in the eastern sky and the moon shining down on the desert. But you don't have time to admire the view. You check the caverns, looking for one that's deep enough. You explore 2, but they're barely more than cracks the sunlight will reach you. Just as Leto is looking for a place to sink into the earth and Julian is digging through his kit for his light-proof sleeping bags, you find a deep, winding cave. You wave everyone in. With Elena's help, there's just enough time to get set up before the sun crosses the horizon. You sleep badly and awaken racked with hunger, your skull aching, your teeth protruding involuntarily. But when you approach the Rolls-Royce, you find Leto and Julian seated on a blanket, evidently in fine spirits. They're holding stainless steel mugs as they watch the last purple streaks fade from the western sky. "Ah, Celeste," Leto says, holding up a mug. "Have you tried this concoction?" Julian hands you a mug. You smell the blood, sip it. A vague chemical taste, different from other preserved blood you've sampled. Stronger. You slam it down, and your throat burns for a moment, but you feel the blood invigorate you. "I almost regret Dr. Call's destruction," Leto tells Julian. "This blood is her creation?" "More or less," Julian says. "We've had some trouble sourcing the breed of sheep she used." Leto studies the blood. It looks pitch black in the twilight. "And it's safe?" Safer than going hungry and losing your mind out here, Julian says. Leto raises an eyebrow at that answer, and glances dubiously at the blood. He's moving more and more, Leto says as Julian preps the scanning equipment. How can you tell? The Assamite asks. You're no sorcerer. I sleep in the earth, Julian, Leto says. And I'm old. There are things you learn, once you're certain that you would have been dead had you lived a mortal life. Ramos will awaken soon and begin his long march east. And drag every hunter in the world after him like a fucking Godzilla movie, Julian says. Riga and Inoya squabble over the remains of a jackrabbit. You're not sure who caught it. But that's why you hired the best, Julian says. Even if you didn't know who it was before I showed up. He's watching the tablet attached to the scanning device. The screen shows maps of your and Julian's path through the desert back in 2007 or so. We're going to start by getting a map of this whole acre, Julian says. What am I doing? Leto says, frowning at the screen. He's obviously not happy letting Julian take the lead. I want you and your magic bird to find the helicopter I heard last night and make sure we're not being hunted, Julian says. And, Celeste. I can handle the scanning. I'm familiar with the technology and nimble enough to keep the rickety push cart pointed the right way. Commodex Plus technology, enhancing my eyes won't help here. But I can make my sense of touch especially sensitive, so I can confirm scan results by touching the earth. Common Auspex, give me a second tablet so I can record data. I'll handle academic note-taking in real time, removing scanning errors and phantom images. Prince Leto heads up into the hills, following his eagle. Julian watches him go, then says, Elena, move the Rolls-Royce next to Celeste's BMW. I don't want them spaced out. Elena shrugs and does as she is told. Then Julian turns to you and says, you know you can exploit Leto's delusions, right? What? Remember when Leto asked you if I consumed Ayla? The Assamite says with a self-satisfied laugh. Shut up. I swear I will bury him here if he keeps talking about it. How in the hell could you know about that? I'm genuinely curious, actually, especially if it means I can learn about holes in the Viper's security. This isn't a game. Leto thinks he's merciful, but he's not, Julian says. He also thinks he's keeping up with the times, but he's not. The Prince of Tucson made an obvious mistake, asking you if I consumed Ayla but not asking you if you did it. And he's starting to make another. Don't you see? He thinks you're Ayla. Or that some significant fraction of her survived in you. For a second, the California desert fades and is replaced by one that looks almost the same on the other side of the world. But it's just a memory. You know because it's night there, too. You shake your head. But that's impossible, Julian says. There are stories that the really ancient vampires, the Methuselahs, could survive even dibulary and take control of their hosts, but Ayla wasn't that old or powerful. Still, think about what you could do to Leto if he believed you were Ayla reborn. He loved her, you know. Are you recommending that I seduce the Prince of Tucson? What you're proposing is repellent even by the standards of our kind, Julian. That might actually work. But to what end? Power and survival, obviously. But what else? Interesting. Meaning, that could get me a real position in the Camarilla hierarchy. And risky, I know, Julian says. But imagine. He stops. You hear helicopter blades. Call your wolf, Julian says. You signal Inoya, who lopes over to your position. Julian closes his eyes, and you feel the power of his vitae, then nothing. He's using the same sort of power that hides the Viper's rooftop Elysium. The sound of the helicopter fades, and color drains from the cars, the desert, even the stars. The unmarked helicopter passes overhead. When it disappears behind a mesa, Julian relaxes and the stars come back out. "We have work to do before Leto gets back," he says. Julian gets you set up with an extra device, then signals for you to follow as he starts meticulously pushing the cart around the circuit. The idea is to scan the periphery, then spiral in toward the center. This sort of work is experimental and difficult, and you're not an expert. Still, bad data is bad data. You delete duplicates, ghost images, and other junk, which makes Julian's work easier. Finally, after several long hours of work, you and Julian have put together a decent-looking map of the ground beneath your feet. Riga drifts overhead, huge and black against the moon, a few minutes before Leto reappears. "Well?" Julian asks. "I spotted a state police vehicle and followed it back to an old building covered in, I think, satellite dishes. The abandoned long-line microwave tower network," Julian says. He studies his tablet, then says, "The good news is that we were able to generate a good map of Ramos's movements. He's heading south, using the same tunnels he used when Celeste and I were feeding him. So you know exactly where he's going." "I wonder what the Second Inquisition knows about his movements," Leto says. "I notice that we have not encountered more of Ramos's servitors. I'd love to stomp a few sea goons. Is it safer to deal with the sea before we confront Ramos? We need to deal with Ramos now. That monster needs to go before he eats a whole town." "I agree," Leto says. "The Camarilla has lost entire settlements before, and the subsequent cover-up always ends in finger-pointing and blood hunts. Or we could actually do something clever and ambitious," Julian says. "The Sabat ruins are just a few miles away." He turns to you. "I am, of course, offering blood and instruction as payment. Think of everything I could teach you, Celeste." You know that Julian is desperate to run this experiment, though you're not sure why. To prove his sorceress power to himself? Or to rivals or other sorcerers? But Julian never does something for only one reason. "You understand," Leto says, "that I could simply insist that we do things my way. But a gentleman would never." Julian says. "Julian, what canite powers can you teach me? I might be more inclined to offer my assistance to someone willing to pay. I think we should destroy Ramos. The prince is right, we can't risk an experiment with the stability of the entire Southwest at stake. We need to destroy Ramos, so I can drink his soul when no one is looking. Imagine how much we can learn about sorcery if we can banish him. Let's perform the ritual. I think we should send Ramos to the Middle East because it will completely confuse the Second Inquisition, and that's hilarious." He starts to recite obscure names in Arabic, then catches himself. Vanishing, unnatural speed, arts of persuasion that the prince, being a mere outlander, has no talent for, and of course, I'm a sorcerer. I'm also certified in and TV/VCR repair, but we don't have time for that. Common disciplines available from Julian Sim: blood sorcery, celerity, dominate, obfuscate. Leto, can you match Julian's offer? I might be more inclined to offer my assistance to someone willing to pay. I think we should destroy Ramos. The prince is right, we can't risk an experiment with the stability of the entire Southwest at stake. We need to destroy Ramos, so I can drink his soul when no one is looking. Imagine how much we can learn about sorcery if we can banish him. Let's perform the ritual. I think we should send Ramos to the Middle East because it will completely confuse the Second Inquisition, and that's hilarious." Leto and Julian negotiate for a few more minutes to give the impression that they haven't handed the decision over to the junior member of the trio. Elena plays fetch with Inoya. Julian, Prince Leto says, his voice quiet, I need you to understand how dangerous the situation with Ramos is. He cannot be allowed to rise and begin his march across the desert. I respect the audacity of your plan, and I acknowledge that sorcerers enjoy testing their powers, but if this is some kind of trick, or a harebrained idiot scheme that you don't think will really work, I will destroy you. I'm glad you're being honest, Leto, Julian says. And I'm glad you respect me. I never said that. In a way, you see your younger self in me. Absolutely not. And because we respect each other, I assure you that this plan is sound. My people are waiting at the Sabbat Stonehenge for me to arrive. All of the work is already done, except for a brief ritual that I know exactly how to perform. We can do this. And you will take notes and learn much about the nature of sorcery? Leto says. Exactly. I will have a copy of those notes, if you please, Leto says. Julian winces, but he doesn't have any room to negotiate. Fine. Leto dumps a bunch of equipment out of the rolls, leaving what Julian brought with him, a thick metal suitcase, plus a bunch of electrical and computer equipment. You head out first to certify Ramos's present location and to make sure that he'll pass near the ritual site. Elena holds the tablet with the scans while you take the BMW into the deep desert. The Rolls-Royce follows with a happy Julian and a troubled Prince Leto. As you travel, you spot an oddly regular shape against one of the rocky hills. It's a Buick SUV with its lights off. A figure, silhouetted against the stars, is setting up some kind of imaging equipment. Night vision goggles? You spot a Phoenix badge reflected in the light. That's the Sea's secret task force within the 111th Military Intelligence Brigade. You've encountered them before. They're looking for you, and you just don't have time to deal with a fight right now. Circling around will waste time, but if you keep going straight, they might note your position. One other possibility is to take the BMW over some dangerously rough terrain. It's a straight path and won't slow you down much, though your BMW's undercarriage won't like it. Riga swoops past overhead. If you point that SUV out to Leto, he can send Riga to deal with the intelligence agent, though the prince won't like risking his famulus. We can't slow down or spend time dealing with our watchers. I keep moving. I tap my brakes so the others see me, then turn off the path to put a hill between me and the Buick. It'll slow us down, but I don't want them noting our location. I tap my brakes and point the agent out to Leto so he sends in Riga. I take my BMW over the rough terrain. I can fix the undercarriage later. Inoya, lure that agent away. Elena, I'm going to need you to lure them off. You take the BMW over the jagged rocks, wincing with each crunch. But you don't think the agent can see you. The Rolls accelerates past you and takes the long way around the cover of a low hill. You arrive at the ritual site a few minutes ahead of the Rolls-Royce. The ruins don't look much like Stonehenge. They're more like the Apadana in Persepolis, except shorn of ornamentation and in an even greater state of disrepair. Little remains except a few tumbled pillars and slabs. You could have driven right by it and not recognized it as artificial. And if Julian is right, it's doubly artificial, a meticulous copy of an actual ruin somewhere in the Middle East. Only when you get close do you see some writing on the slabs. The Sabbat must have been exacting, the cuneiform stretches for hundreds of lines. There's a trailer parked nearby for Julian's people. You park, get out, approach the trailer. They're all dead. Look at the size of these fang marks. Julian says, examining the dead woman with the cold curiosity of a botanist checking for aphids. And this was done recently. 3 nights ago, I'd say. Damn. That does not smell good. Both your Lobo and your retainer are keeping well away from the trailer, and upwind. Sorry, Ramos has already been moving around here, Leto says. He checks his maps. He'll be back soon. Later tonight, Julian says. I need to get to work. The artificial structure here must match the one in the lost city of Washhukani as closely as possible. Some of the pillars have iron rings bolted onto them, and Julian starts running guide wires through them. The stones look solid, but you know that any shift in their weight will disrupt Julian's ritual. The channels carved in the stones between the cuneiform are probably for moving blood around. The Assamite pops a laptop open, then starts running wires from a small suitcase to your BMW's battery. What the hell are you doing to my car? How do the guide wires work? Are the channels in the stones for moving vitae? What about those fallen pillars? Are they supposed to be there? Wait, if you open a rift to the other side of the world, isn't it daytime there? Clever girl, Julian says. The actual city of Washhukani is underground. But that's part of the problem. The only thing the Sabbat got exactly right is the Hurrian cuneiform used to channel blood. He points to the carved writing. The rocks are chemically different, which is why I have to run an electromagnetic field through everything. Only way I can fake it. You check the laptop. It displays a continually updating 3D map of the magnetic field that suitcase is putting out. How does that work? Leto asks. You wouldn't understand, Julian says. But you might understand this. He jiggles a guide wire. Make rock not fall over. The sorcerer runs a metal cord from one of the fallen pillars to the Rolls-Royce, then hops in the car. To move the pillar? But he hesitates, then gets out and goes back to work on the cuneiform. I should bury the dead. I should probably listen to the eldest one of us. Leto, what should we do? I watch Julian as he works, curious to see if I can learn anything from this strange ritual. I check the cars. If something goes wrong, I want to get out of here at top speed. Julian's blood sorcery doesn't involve any blood yet, just taking measurements with a protractor and camera phone, then sometimes chipping away at the rocks with a chisel. It's hard to understand what he's doing, and you know enough not to interrupt a sorcerer to ask questions. A cold wind starts to blow. You and Leto follow it to its source. The place between two pillars shows no stars, no horizon, only darkness. There's the real city, Julian says. That's where Ramos is going. His fingertips are black with blood. The laptop continues to pump out field data. Ramos is coming, Leto says. I can feel him in the earth. Yeah, I know, Julian says. In about an hour he'll be close enough to smell blood. I'll drop some on the sand, and he'll come wiggling toward us like a big undead shark. When that happens, I want you and Celeste. No, Leto says. I feel him beneath us. Julian looks west, toward the low hills. He's already coming? He says. I'm just about ready, but... The earth beneath Leto's feet explodes in a shower of rocks and sand. When you can see again, Ramos has risen out of the earth. Twice the size of man, with bat-like ears and a head like a shattered and badly reassembled Neanderthal skull, he rises naked and filthy against the stars, holding Leto aloft in one taloned and bloody hand. The eagle prince roars, and his fingernails become claws. He slashes at Ramos's face, ripping black lines in the flesh, and the huge Nosferatu stumbles against one of the pillars. No. Julian cries. The icy wind sputters to a halt. The struggling elders have snapped one of the wires looped through one of the metal rings embedded in a stone, causing it to shift out of place. The two elders crash to the earth, knocking you back. Julian, what am I doing? He's the expert here. Are the cars okay? I'm not getting stranded here. Is there any way I can help Leto? I need to protect the prince. How can I fight this thing? I look for some way to put a hole in Rira. You reach for your gun, but as the elders hammer on each other with such force that your eardrums threaten to burst, you have to admit that you're just outclassed here. Any attack you make risks hitting Leto instead of Rira Mouse. The whole situation quickly goes to shit. Leto takes the shape of a huge golden bear and tears at Rira Mouse's throat while the Nosferatu slams him into the ground so hard that the jelly in your eyes jiggles. Blood runs freely from Julian's hands as he paints hieroglyphs on the stone, then switches over to Greek letters. You think you recognize the improvised spell he's trying to work. But the stone is an inch out of alignment, and the rift only sputters and crackles. Get him away from the gate, Julian shouts. The two fighters almost trample you as the golden bear pushes Rira Mouse back. Your Lobo flees before she is crushed. You regain your feet and try to figure out what to do. You don't dare join the battle. The elders would rip you apart in a second, but you might be able to rally Leto to beat Rira Mouse down and buy Julian time. Sparks blast out of the suitcase. The laptop it's attached to falls, but it remains open, and you can see the 3D model on the screen spiking wildly. Julian curses he's been watching that laptop, and now he can't see it. And you're pretty sure touching it would electrocute you. You might be able to read off the data he needs or, possibly, fix the short circuit. Another hammer blow shakes the earth as the elders fight, and the fallen pillar jumps a quarter inch. No, no, no. Julian cries as the rift grows even more feeble. He takes a step toward the rolls once again, thinking about moving the fallen pillar, but he's unwilling to leave the cuneiform carvings as his blood flows into them. I just need to buy Julian more time. I yell and rally Leto, guiding his attacks against Rira Mouse. Command Char plus intimidation/leadership, my aura of majesty will help me lead Leto into battle against this monster. Presence, I'm nimble and technically proficient enough to fix that short circuit without getting electrocuted. Dex plus technology, I know my way around academic jargon. I read the data Julian needs. And plus academics, I know enough about the ritual Julian is performing to help him with the Greek spells. Blood sorcery, in plus academics, I get in the rolls, grit my teeth to hold on, and drag that fallen pillar out of the way. Reese plus drive, I use my great strength to physically move the fallen pillar. Competence, I climb nimbly onto the top of the stone and sling ropes through the iron loop. That will let Elena and me move the left pillar back into position. Dex plus athletics. You jump up onto the stones beside your fellow sorcerer and examine the Greek writing. This is partially Old Thracian geomancy, Julian explains, shouting over the horrific sounds of battle behind you, with some markings from what the warlocks used to call the Path of Mercury. Yeah, you say. But look, a lot of this grammar is the same stuff that Tremere use for warding magic, so you're going. I'm blocking everything up. Oh shit, you're right. Julian cries. Celeste, rewrite those sections and get rid of anything that looks like a ward. I'll go back to the cuneiform. You open your wrist and get to work, clarifying and simplifying the arcane grammar. Finally, the Greek words which you've mixed with a bit of Latin, because the dative case in Greek always makes trouble, flare to life on the stone. That's it, Celeste. Julian screams. He's white with blood loss. You probably don't look any better. He jumps off the block, stumbling a little. Leto flies past the ruin and crashes all the way through the engine block of his Rolls-Royce, The prince gets to his feet and removes a rod from his lung. He's starting to look a little tired now. "Okay, everyone," Julian says, grabbing 2 sparking wires. "Hold on." Electricity crackles between them. You run just as Julian brings them together. For a horrible moment, you exist in 2 places at once: the California desert and a buried city somewhere in Mesopotamia. No, not quite 2 places. They are the same place. Identical in every way, made identical by the unnatural power of Julian's sorcery and the sacrifice of his blood. Then you snap back to California. Mouse howls as some invisible force drags him between the 2 pillars. Even his inhuman strength cannot resist the sorcery, and he's pulled forward. He vanishes with a blast of ice-searing blackness. When you can see again, Julian is face down in the dirt, indistinguishable from a corpse. Leto shrugs out of his tattered diesel jacket, revealing an equally tattered t-shirt, and sits down on a rock to mend his torn flesh. The standing stones are blackened. The fallen pillar is gone. So is Leto's Rolls-Royce. At least your BMW is still there. And Inoya and Elena had the sense to get clear. They look a bit battered but not seriously hurt. Julian, still face down in the dirt, starts to laugh. "I did it," he shouts. "It worked. Oh, Leto, my harebrained idiot scheme that I didn't think would really work actually worked. Can you believe it?" Any celebration or analysis will have to wait. Julian is pale and wasted from the sorcery he worked. Leto just fought one of the few vampires in the Southwest tougher than him, and you. This all feels a little above your pay grade, honestly. You have a headache. Not from hunger, just a normal, blinding headache, like when you were alive. Your Lobo doesn't look much better. She needs rest to let your Vitae heal her. The 3 of you check out the trailer. Per Julian's instructions, it's been light-proofed. You can stay here for the day. Elena remains outside. She has learned not to be around paler than usual vampires because it means they're hungry. Julian starts filling a notebook, but he has only a few minutes until the sun crosses the horizon. You drive back to the Desert View Motel. "Well, Mr. Sim, it has been a pleasure," Prince Leto says. "But? Oh, that's all," Leto says. "I have been trapped in one place for decades. This sojourn was a risk, and maybe an expensive mistake, but I enjoyed it. Do you have my copy of your notes?" "You won't understand them," Julian says, handing the Eagle Prince a fistful of photocopied notebook pages. "Someone will," Leto says. He glances your way. "Are you going to be safe with this Asimite? He won't rob you?" "I would never dream of it," Julian says. "You can follow me, Celeste." He starts up his Fisker-Ocean. On the road, Julian says, "You did good, kid." As if he hadn't been embraced 5 years before you. "What do you want for doing good?" "I want to train in the arts, you know, and learn the secrets that wait in your blood. A bit of cash. I have expenses, you know. I did it to help you, Julian. I'd like to think we're friends. Mostly I." "Here, dig in," Julian says, holding up his wrist. The Asimite's blood is like Red Bull and battery acid, so strong that your gums feel like they're burning. The stuff crawls right up into your eyes, like it's trying to reprogram you. You pull away. "I've gotten strong while you drove a Honda," Julian says, closing up the wound in his wrist as white after images of equations flash in your eyes. The lessons later that night in an upscale hotel are swift, precise, and demanding. For all his lackadaisical attitude, Julian is a child of Hakim, heir to an ancient order of Middle Eastern assassin wizards who absolutely do not fuck around. He hammers, disciplines, and cuts you into shape, until your blood flows through the right channels. By the end of it you feel like that standing stone with the cuneiform chiseled into it. But you understand what he wanted to teach you. The rest of the trip yields no surprises. Julian's Fisk corrosion takes off before you enter the city. You head for the Viper. The Viper is packed when you roll into the parking lot. Too packed, you think. The crowd is spilling outside, partying, drinking. Who's running security tonight? The main door is jammed with people, so you take the fire escape up to the Viper's hidden rooftop Elysium. There's an unpleasant trickle of darkness as you cross the threshold. The Elysium is empty. So are the glass box that overlooks the dance floor, which is dangerously overcrowded, the private feeding rooms where the blood dolls hang out, and the hall outside Prince Leto's office. And you smell fire and blood. It's muted, but present. Looking out from the rooftop Elysium, you can see cars passing by. Normally the shadow energy of this place makes their headlights almost invisible. But they seem brighter now. Inoa grows and scratches at the decorative rocks of the rooftop Elysium. I use my keen senses and intuition to follow the smell. Wit plus awareness, I check the dirt upstairs and the carpeting downstairs for footprints, blood, or bloody footprints. Rees plus investigation, the Viper is full of unused corridors that only the prince knows about. If there were a fight, Leto would have used them. I use my knowledge of architecture to navigate them. And plus academics / technology, there's something wrong with the Elysium's occulting spell. I use my knowledge of the supernatural to find clues. And plus academics, answers await in Leto's office. You don't need to work a ritual to know that something is wrong with the veil Jasper Knowles cast over the Tucson Elysium. Perhaps it's starting to unravel without a sorcerer to maintain it. Just moving around reveals that the shadows act strangely, not quite tracking the moon or the city lights. You follow a trail of disrupted shadows downstairs to their source, a strange dark wall outside Prince Leto's office. Is the wall stained? You look up and spot dark spots that look like water damage. It does rain in Tucson, every now and then. And it really looks like a stain dripping down the wall. But it's not water. It is, you realize, not even really there. The shadows woven into the Elysium upstairs are starting to unravel. Or drip, or rot. Whatever is happening, the stains of darkness are dripping down to the lower levels, blurring your vision and senses. You peer through the blurry area and realize that there's just a gate there. You've passed it before. But you can't quite see through it, so you carefully open the gate and peer inside. The smell of blood hits you before you can see anything. The room is a bare cement cube with a single table, like a lab bench, beneath a single watery yellow ceiling light. The far wall ends in another gate, this one larger and locked. You count 3 corpses on the floor, maybe more behind the gate. And Alexander. The old ghoul is lying on the far wall with an empty revolver, holding in his guts. It looks like he came through another door, to your left, which is now locked. Celeste, Alexander says, spitting blood. He was here all along. Julian Sim. We kept looking for his headquarters. It was here. The same place. There's still a chance to save him. I put my academic knowledge of medicine to work and stabilize Alexander. And plus academics, I give him blood to keep him alive. He's dying anyway, so I drain him dry. I wait for him to die and then search him. Tell me what happened. The first thing you do is run to one of the lounges. Most have medical kits in case a feeding gets out of control. You find one and race back to Alexander. "Listen to me, Celeste," he says. You tell him to be quiet and get to work. His bowels aren't pierced, either that or they were, but he used Vitae to repair the damage. But his injuries are significant, and you have to work for more than 20 minutes before he's stabilized. Alexander is doped to the gills, but whatever Ryan will has allowed him to serve for centuries now allows him to open his eyes and fix them on you. "I did not expect to survive tonight," the old retainer says. "I still might not. We need to get you to a hospital. Tell me everything that happened." "So I did my job. Not." Alexander forces himself to stand up. When you try to help him, he waves you away. "I've seen battles you can't imagine, girl," he says. "I can walk outside and call a cab, thank you. But first, listen. We finally found where Julian Sim's headquarters were. They were here." He used Jasper Knowles's shadow sorcery to hide his entire operation. "And when we found him, he had just finished his 2100 program. That's why the fighting started. Anyway, you need to get paid." "That's true." The old ghoul breathes for a second, recovering his poise, then reaches into his jacket and hands you an envelope. It's bloody but undamaged. You check, the money is all there. But there's ... hold on ... more than money. Look at this. Next, he hands you a small object of glass and steel, a little smaller than a deck of cards. It appears to hold a few drops of blood. The back says 2100 program next to a little karambit logo. What the hell is it? Doesn't look very valuable to me. I wonder what it's worth to people. So this is it, Julian's project to replace the Masquerade, in a ... little box. I need to understand how it works. Is this what people have been killing each other over? Alexander forces. "Give it to its rightful owners and maybe you'll find out," a voice says. Nadia, Julian's retainer, stands on the far side of the locked gate, her expression determined. She's wearing all black except for a poison green tudung. "I trust you will be returning it to him. Once I know where he is." "Don't treat me like an enemy, Nadia. These retainers are so uncivil." "I'll return it." "What's it worth to him?" "Julian is my friend. Let's get this back to him." "I'm not working for Julian, Nadia. Now get out of..." Chastised, Nadia spreads her hands and says, "Fine, fine. Julian says it's safer in your hands than ... Celeste, your hand." The rectangular glass case has cracked, and as you watch, shimmering Vitae drips down the metal, then over your wrist. It instantly sinks into your skin, then explodes through your veins. And then nothing. You move the invading blood through your body, feeling no ill effects. Still, that can't be good. "Damn it," Nadia says. "Congratulations, Celeste, now you're the 2100 program. You don't have much time before." A spray of gunfire from behind her causes Nadia to spin around. A man appears in the other room, fires another quick burst, and gestures for Nadia to follow. The man wears a face-concealing bike helmet and a black motorcycle suit trimmed with gold. You recognize the trim because it matches that Hyok Z. So, here's the driver. You don't know his name. Maybe he's just Z, that's the only letter on his outfit not torn away by abrasion. "The C is here. Contact me," the retainer says as she follows Z. "What else should you call him?" Out of the room, Inoya is waiting, her muzzle covered in blood. You can hear radio chatter downstairs, "Police, hunting you." But when you check the dance floor, the place is still open. It's packed, but you feel police and hunters moving through it. "I need to get out of here right away. I head for my BMW. With Leto gone, I finally have a chance to feed here. I hit the dance floor and take a quick sip. I hit the dance floor and drink my fill. I won't kill anyone, but I work the crowd until I'm sated. I take a moment to sweep the Elysium for money and valuables, then I head for my car. The main parking lot is crawling with plainclothes police, and there are Buick vans parked across the street. You head for your BMW, then head back around the corner when Inoya growls, alerting you to a police cruiser rolling through the lot. Hiding for a moment, you look back to the rear of the Viper and spot 3 rides you recognize. Dove's Chrysler 300, Carlos's E86, and the Lotus Esprit Turbo that belonged to Miguel, that retainer of Dove's who died at Kiowa's Energenetics. The bad news is that a fight raged around them earlier. All have taken serious damage. The good news is all the shattered glass. Since they're all older cars, you could just reach in and hotwire one. Whatever you do, you realize that you need to turn your thoughts not just to your considerable assets in Tucson, but to moving them. However things shake out over the next few nights, you doubt that you'll be able to stay in Tucson for much longer. That being the case, you need to make sure you have a good set of wheels. You wait for a break in the police patrols, then hurry back to your BMW, let Inoya hop in, and roll out. When you check the rearview mirror, you can see them shutting the Viper down. You think you've lost them as you roll down West Alameda Street, but as you turn onto North Grenada, 4 black vans move to box you in. Those damn suffs have chased you since your first trip to the Viper. I blend into the heavy traffic up ahead, staying calm and deceiving my pursuer about my intentions. Then I hammer the accelerator to get away. /man plus drive/subterfuge, I use my knowledge of the streets to dart down a side road no one else knows about. I'm the smart one here, after all. And plus drive/streetwise, my keen senses will let me spot hidden side roads I can take. You know where you are. You're about to cross West Franklin Street, where that impound lot is located. You take a hard right and dodge around traffic, leaving at least one Buick stranded, then flick the wheel when you see the Franklin Street impound, darting between its chain link fence and a methadone clinic. You're so quick and clever that the suffs never see your little trick, they race right past and lose you. You hide for the better part of an hour, listening to police broadcasts and the local news, until you're sure that the action has been confined to the Viper. You drive toward your estate, driving slowly along the surrounding roads and watching for signs of hunter activity. But it doesn't look like they've found you yet. You return to your estate and park the BMW. You check your earnings from your partial stake in Street Basil's Hospital, then spend $3,501 on upkeep, maintenance, fines, and fees to perpetuate your twilight existence. As you wait for a light to turn green, you spot Riga, Prince Leto's eagle Famulus, perched on a street light. Her golden eyes are fixed on you. Curious, you take a right, towards her, instead of going straight, and she flaps away to another street light. She wants you to follow her. You start to drive, but after only a few blocks you feel your heart start up. Your pulse hammers in your temples. You pull over to the side of the road as Tucson flows like water around you and the 2,100 Viti pounds in your veins. You see yourself and Julian from above. You're in the tomb again. No, Ayla is in the tomb. And you're. The vision fades. The echoes of Ayla that have haunted you since your return to Tucson fade with them. Is she gone? You pull back into traffic. You tune the BMW's radio to hear the news. This is Mel Pomini Chen, and you're listening to Mel at Midnight. Exciting news out of the Santa Fe Institute, where a research team claims it has used complex quantum teleportation to teleport an entire hemoglobin molecule. This kind of teleportation was first achieved in 2019, but that involved only moving the quantum state of a photon, not entire molecules. The University of Vienna and the University of Science and Technology of China, which led previous research into complex quantum teleportation, have not been able to confirm the results. Nonetheless, plans are already in development to adapt this technology for medical purposes. While Alexander made it safely to the hospital, he's since disappeared. And the Viper is shut down and watched by the Second Inquisition. That makes blood more difficult to come by. But you were able to find blood your first night in Tucson this year, and you can do it again. I'll feed on vagrants, which takes speed and stealth. Dex plus clandestine, I'll seduce my prey and feed on them during sex, which requires charm and persuasion. Char plus persuasion, I go back to feeding on animals, which requires cunning and wilderness training. Wit plus survival, though it's not as easy as it used to be, I find a source of bagged blood, which requires knowledge of medical science. Int plus technology, I feed on the sleeping, which requires careful investigation to find targets. Rees plus investigation, I feed on people in Tucson's party scene, which requires street smarts and cool. Over the next few nights, as you make your final preparations, you also secure a semi-reliable source of blood at a local plasma center. Where to tonight? You still have the small rectangular container of glass and brushed steel that, apparently held Julian's whole operation. But you can see the hairline fractures, and you felt the blood creep into your body. Without apparent effect. You should learn more. I am working for Julian. I just get in touch with him or one of his people. Julian must have sourced this vial from a biomedical equipment manufacturer. I put my technical knowledge to work tracking it down. Int plus technology, this vial isn't a product of normal science. I look for occult marking. You remove the now broken glass lens from the steel and go over everything with a magnifying glass. Most of the markings you recognize, 2100, serial numbers, a little karambit. But then you notice little designs along the inside of the steel, like circuitry, and designs you remember from fragmentary amulets in your size lounge in Kiowa's Xenogenetics. You head to Corbo used books and quickly identify the symbols as a variant of Demotic Egyptian used by monotheistic heretics during a buried revival of Atonism in the 6th century BC. After that, the answers come quickly. These were echo spells that's ministry blood magic to preserve life. These signs in particular prevent two things: organic decay and the loss of knowledge. Your conclusion: Julian manufactured some kind of technomagical apparatus for holding in stasis vitae loaded with complex information. And now that vitae is in your bloodstream. With knowledge, however, comes understanding. You can feel how it moves in your body and how to control it. It has things to teach you. Those lessons will represent the beginning of a metamorphosis that you do not fully understand. Where to tonight? I wait for Riga to reappear and follow her. Government pawn shop. Rayna's imported autos. Fine motor skills. Corbo used books. Paragon Fitness. With the Viper closed, I look for another nightclub where I can hone my social abilities. Where can I unlock deeper and more powerful secrets? Make yourself as comfortable as you can in your estate and listen to the strange way the alien vitae moves through your veins. It seems to be carving out new channels in your body. Whatever Julian has invented, it's strange, powerful, and experimental. And you feel how it can unlock new techniques and powers. I unlock the secrets of understanding and clear vision. Increase auspex, intelligence, and wits. I unlock the secrets of movement and grace. Increase celerity, dexterity, and wits. I unlock the secrets of power and domination. Increase dominate, manipulation, and resolve. I unlock the secrets of invincible resilience. Increase fortitude, resolve, and stamina. I unlock the secrets or stealth and cunning. Increase obfuscate, dexterity, and composure. I unlock the secrets of raw physical power. Increase potence, stamina, and strength. I unlock the secrets of majesty and mastery. Increase presence, charisma, and composure. I use it to concentrate my blood, effectively lowering my generation. Increase blood, strength, and intelligence. I'm not going to risk manipulating my vitae like this. Your inner flesh burns and blisters as the alien vitae rips through your body like a lightning strike, tearing open new pathways for your blood. You grit your teeth and hold on as faces assail you: Banu Hakim of 5 centuries past, Leto as an aviator during the Great War, Jasper Knowles arguing with a mortal sorcerer in the 90s. Your own face, blocking out the ceiling of a warehouse somewhere in Tucson. Your fangs. Fragments of Ayla's memories. You shake them away, as you have so many times since your return to this city. And then not memories, but the future, images of a world transformed by understanding, fear, compassion, loyalty. Fragments of Julian's 2100 program, filtering into your bloodstream, crackling through your dead brain synapses. After a few seconds, those two fade. I unlock the secrets of understanding and clear vision. Increase auspex and wits. I unlock the secrets of movement and grace. Increase celerity, dexterity, and wits. I unlock the secrets of power and domination. Increase dominate, manipulation, and resolve. I unlock the secrets of invincible resilience. Increase fortitude, resolve, and stamina. I unlock the secrets or stealth and cunning. Increase obfuscate, dexterity, and composure. I unlock the secrets of raw physical power. Increase potence, stamina, and strength. I unlock the secrets of majesty and mastery. increase presence, charisma, and composure. I use it to concentrate my blood, effectively lowering my generation. Increase blood and strength. I stop manipulating my vitae. Another agonizing crackle of metamorphoses, memories, and glimpses of a possible future. With that transformation, you feel the last of the strange alien vitae merge fully with your bloodstream. You've made what changes you can for now. Where to tonight? You remain seated for an entire night, concentrating as you force your vitae to flow through your ravaged skin. Fixing this kind of damage is much harder than closing up cuts or snapping together broken bones, and much more painful. When the work is done, you're shivering with exhaustion. Then you shower off and crawl into bed before dawn. The sun has almost risen by the time you're finished. Where to tonight? You start to follow, but from the grim expression on the eagle's face, you know that wherever she's taking you, you might not be coming back. You'll have time for one final feeding, and that's it. December 18. Sunrise, 7:16 a.m. You return to your estate and park the BMW. You know you need to be ready. You rise early and make sure your weapons and equipment are ready. You check the security on your sprawling estate, then climb onto the unrenovated bell tower and look out toward Tucson. No one is watching you. It's like the city is waiting for you to move. Your car's tank is full. Inoya hops in, and you head for your final hunt. As you drive, you consider your future. The Camarilla is the safest bet. What are my chances of successfully joining the Ivory Tower? Do I have a place in Julian's operation if I'm able to help him tonight? What if I just leave town with the money I've made these past few weeks? These vampire schemes sicken me. If I try to stop them all with the sea, what are my chances of getting out in one piece? You could always just blow town with what you've made. The Southwest is covered in hunters, and the Ivory Tower has lost so many members that it's not even a land of opportunity, it's a war zone. You could head to San Francisco or even all the way up to Seattle. San Francisco is currently wide open after its Prince Blue Town. You could settle down for a few years there and see what life in the slow lane has to offer. You've also heard about opportunities in Seattle for a smart and ambitious gay knight. But you'd need money, at least 30 grand in assets to really move up in the world, at least half that just to scrape by and start rebuilding. With one phone call, you could sell your estate and transfer all your assets to a previously unused bank account. With that, yes, you could do very well for yourself up north. You could even give up the courier work and establish yourself as an influential independent. One thing is clear, tonight might bring numerous examples for profit, and if you want to improve your station once you leave the Southwest, you should take them. You have only one last question. Knowing that the sea plans to end kindred presence in Tucson soon, how determined are you to seek blood? Are you desperate enough to draw their attention, or are you willing to let a hunt slip through your fingers to avoid drawing notice? I'm not going to risk exposure to feed. I act with care and back off if I think I'm being followed. I'm not going to let hunters shape my behavior. I feed as I always do, carefully but with decisiveness. This is my final chance to feed. I strike aggressively, confident that I can outpace any hunters to my destination. Once you're sure you're not being tailed, you head to the plasma center you've been using for the past few nights. There's a beat-up old Volvo station wagon parked across the street. The man in the driver's seat is watching the side entrance. Hunters. You drive off. There's another place across town, a distribution hub for most of the local hospitals, and it looks clear. Your medical knowledge lets you walk into the clinic without drawing immediate attention. You wait for someone to open the vault door, then take what you need. You're feeling confident until you get back to your BMW, when you notice a Buick SUV at the Jack-in-the-Box across the street. The driver is pulling through the drive-in, which means you and the sea hunter missed each other by about 30 seconds. You get out of there before they find you. Riga circles overhead as you drive to Covenant Pawn Shop. Elena is in the parking lot where you got your Nissan Frontier, making sure her Datsun is spotless. "Your bird is starting to piss me off," she says, her anger masking her fear. She knows something is coming. She smiles, snaps her railway glasses over her face, and says, "Let's go." The Datsun's engine roars to life as you head for your BMW and scan for Riga. Elena's orange car hangs back, following you as you follow the Eagle. The Eagle drifts over high-rises and low residential housing, moving generally east. Your way up in limbo lost, near the mall and the Walmart, when Riga settles on the roof of a Safeway. You reverse into the parking lot in case you need to get out fast and scan the cars at the pumps. It looks quiet. Then you hear a faint ringing. The payphone next to the ice merchandiser is ringing. Elena is waiting in her Datsun across the street, outside the mall entrance. The phone continues to ring. Riga is still watching you. You answer the phone. "You're finally here. Thank you, Celeste. Listen, you're in terrible danger. It's Prince Leto. The sea wants the 2100 vial, and they'll destroy you to get it." "Where is it?" I hang up. "Leto and the Camarilla aren't getting anything from me. Maybe Prince Leto can help me if I tell the truth. It's in my bloodstream. I have it. I want to initiate negotiations to sort this mess out, but I won't tell Leto the whole truth yet. I have it. What can you do for me, if I give it to you? Enough living like a stray dog. I want access to the Camarilla's hierarchy. I have it. What are you offering for it? It has to be worth a lot of money to the ivory tower. If I can get it out of my bloodstream. Tell me what it is and what it does. I won't negotiate from a position of ignorance, and I need to understand." "Thank God," Leto says. "There's still time to sort all this out, Celeste, before Julian takes what you have or the sea burns Tucson to the ground looking for it. We can help each other tonight. Follow Riga, and don't worry if you're tailed. We're going to deal with the sea, and then we'll figure out what to do with the 2100 vial. Good luck, Celeste." He hangs up. The moment the receiver is back on the hook, the phone rings again. Leto's offer sounds sincere, and his reactions to you have been strangely friendly, perhaps even overfamiliar, possibly due to the echoes of Ada still in your bloodstream. You've also earned the grudging respect of his court. Maybe there's still time to settle this like civilized monsters. I'm curious. I pick up. Maybe it's Julian. It's increasingly clear that I can't trust the Camarilla, so I pick up. I'm not sure Julian's plan is sane or even possible, but if it's him, I owe it to an old friend to listen. I pick up. If it's Julian or even the sea, maybe I can squeeze concessions out of them and start a bidding war. I pick up. I've picked my side, Prince Leto and the Camarilla. I let the phone ring and follow Riga. I'm not picking up. Instead I clear the line and call Agent Donati. I want to cut it. "Hello, Celeste," Julian says. "So, first, I need to apologize. Second, we need to do something about that Vitae in your bloodstream. Julian is a fanatic who does nothing but waste my time." I hang up. I'm solving this problem with the Camarilla, and I don't need Julian's help. I hang up. How much trouble am I in? I need to know if this Vitae is going to boil my brain tonight, tomorrow night, or never. I need answers, Julian. What is this stuff in my bloodstream going to do? I want to help you put your plans into action, Julian, but not if they're going to destroy me. And I mean it. I want to help Julian if I can. It sounds like I can't tell you everything over an open phone line, Julian says. But I'll tell you this: it's part of my plan for a better world for all of us, living and dead. And, I'll also tell you that we should hurry up and analyze its effects on your nervous system before, well, can you get it out? If that's what you want, meet me at. There's a crackle on the other end of the line. Follow the eagle. I need ... I gotta go. The line goes dead. You glance back toward your car, up at Riga. The Eagle takes off, momentarily frozen against the stars before she turns south. I get in my BMW and follow her. I place a call to Agent Donati. I want to cut a deal. Julian and the Camarilla, they're all monsters. I call Agent Donati. Maybe the sea can stop them. I'm a good enough liar to waste the Inquisition's time. I call Agent Donati and give her bad intel so hunters are less likely to follow me. Comma man plus subterfuge. You fish Agent Donati's guard out of your peacoat and call her cell. She picks up after the third ring. Donati. It's me. There's a long pause. Is she trying to get someone to initiate a trace, or is she just surprised? I know where Prince Leto is, you say. And I'm willing to cut a deal. You spend a minute haggling as if you really intend to squeeze money out of the FBI, all the while contemplating the best, most time-wasting lie you could tell. So we're agreed, Agent Donati finally says. The $30,000, plus the passports. Agreed, you say. You've been on the phone too long. It's time to say your piece and get back on the road. Ah, he's still at the Viper. What? You haven't noticed the invisible rooms? You say. He's still there, and... Don't waste my fucking time, Celeste, Donati says. She hangs up. Damn, and you were almost telling the truth, too. You get back in your BMW to follow Riga. You roll out of the parking lot, still scanning for pursuit. The only person you can see following you is Elena, and she hangs way back. Riga circles lazily a few times, then heads south down North Oracle Road, a wide divided highway choked with cars even at this hour. You know where Riga is taking you. Your heart starts to beat again as you drive, a frantic staccato rhythm. When the moon rises over the low buildings to your east, it seems so bright it washes out the headlights of oncoming cars. You feel the desert under your wheels. Or some other desert. Ayla is growing stronger, and you know why. Riga is taking you to her tomb. Leto has to know what you did. But he still needs me, and I've earned his respect. And a position in the Camarilla is better than trying to scrape by on my own. Leto is going to turn on Julian, too. Maybe Julian and I should work together. He was always a visionary, even if he's responsible for the mess I'm in. All I want is to get out of this in one piece, and ideally with enough money to live well. Everything else is secondary. And Julian was the one who told me to do it. What am I doing, chasing after wealth and comfort? We're all monsters here, but maybe I can stop some of them tonight. Wrapped in dark thoughts, you turn off the main street, past a little computer repair store marked with a karambit, until you reach the intersection of North Acuna and West Corgranillo. Riga settles on a nearby warehouse. You can feel the weight of your own memories as you step out of your BMW and scan the dark street for signs of a coming attack. Elena pulls onto West Corgranillo from the other direction and parks in a vacant lot. You can feel a cold trickle of fear. You can perish tonight, you know. You haven't felt that kind of dreadful clarity in a long time. Not since the last time you were here, actually. The computer shop is locked up, but there are some odd cars in the lot behind it. You know cars, but it takes a second to recognize the Hispano Isaac Carmen and the FSO Serena. The former is a sleek electric throwback in gleaming silver, like something out of a forgotten future. The latter is a tiny black economy car from Poland with about as much horsepower as a riding mower. It's easier to recognize the Mercedes Sprinter transport for Prince Leto's people and a row of cars for Julian's Nissan Leaf, NV200 van, Honda Insight, and a black and gold Camaro. The vans and cars are empty, but there's a light on in the nearby warehouse. You know what was in that warehouse 10 years ago. I gesture for Elena to stay back. I don't want her walking into trouble just yet. I check how quickly I can draw my weapons. I'm sort of looking forward to a fight, honestly. I scan the alleys again, looking for an ambush. I'm really interested in not getting dusted here tonight. I feel around for anything left of Ayla in my bloodstream. Maybe it's regret, or maybe it's looking for more backup before I head inside. Is anyone guarding that really expensive car? I'm not saying I'm going to steal the Hispano-Suiza, but if a fight breaks out and I can't reach the BMW, I'll make my move. Your only answer is silence, and the strange weight of the alien vitae somewhere in the lower valves of your unbeating heart. Celeste, Prince Leto calls from inside the warehouse. Why don't you come inside and tell me what you did here 10 years ago? The inside has changed. The warehouse shows signs of recent mundane activity, though it's empty once again. Julian sits at the main table. He's wearing a semi-transparent plastic raincoat with neon trim over a t-shirt that says Casa Grande, Arizona, designed like the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles logo. He permits himself the slightest smile when you appear. You've definitely earned his respect over the past few weeks. Behind Julian, several retainers and servitors, including Nadia, another retainer you don't know who looks like a legal counsel, as well as the helmeted driver of the EOC Z outside. You listen in on Julian's retainers, but they only call him Zed. Leto stands with his back to Julian, an expression of calculated arrogance staring east, at a blank wall. He glances your way when you enter. It's dangerous to try reading the expressions of an elder, but he seems to like and trust you. The Prince of Tucson doesn't look like he's dressed to fight. He's in a white linen suit, a Panama hat held in one hand. You recognize a few of Leto's ghouls from the Viper, but no other Kinrid, no Dove, or the Childer of the Old Prince. There are folding chairs for you, Leto, and Julian. I sit and wait for someone to talk. Maybe we can still settle this without anyone getting hurt. I'm still expecting to fight my way out. I'll stay standing, thank you. I linger in the doorway for a second, looking for signs of hunters. I don't want the sea bombing this whole place the second I'm in. You settled onto the folding metal chair. Leto crosses the room and settles into one of the cheap metal chairs. It's time to settle this, the Prince of Tucson says. Julian looks more pale than usual, though you're sure he's not hungry. Leto flashes one of his friendly smiles, leans towards you, and says, Julian here still thinks I'm going to bite his head off. He does not entirely believe that I want to settle this with a discussion. I won't discuss anything from a position of ignorance. First, Julian, you need to tell me what you're planning. In full. I'm surprised you're not just taking what you want. And that's a major concern. I have no idea how to beat Leto in a fair fight. Or even an unfair one. I expected the Camarilla to just take what they wanted. The traditions are only conveniences. In the long run, the Masquerade is doomed, Julian says, speaking quickly and smoothly as if he's recited these words many times in his head. He looks to Leto as if expecting an immediate rebuttal, but the Eagle Prince is silent. The spread of surveillance technologies leaves Kanitz with two real options. First, destroy the surveillance panopticon that increasingly surrounds us. This is tantamount to destroying centuries of technological and intellectual progress. I'm not saying it's impossible, but those who advocate it need to understand the scope of the apocalypse they're calling for. It would be a year zero event. It would put humanity back to 1493. The date that the Camarilla as it is known tonight was founded. Maybe that's what we need to survive. There are limits to the crimes even kindred are willing to commit. It could be a return to our nights of glory and domination. If it were possible, of course. And to ignorance and darkness that makes the Camarilla blackout look like a golden age, Leto says. Correct, Julian says. But there's another way. The alternative is to reveal the existence of Kanites in a way that is staged, controlled, and maximized to take advantage of both the disintermediating power of the internet and our own personal power to control minds and shape opinion. I call this alternative the 2100 program, named after the rough date that I expect the program to finish. The Camarilla itself already completed the first phase in the 20th century, by taking a vibrant and intellectually curious European civilization and turning it into a bunch of sullen, war-scarred navel-gazers. Thank you, Leto. I think you overestimate the influence of the kindred on mortal affairs. We're mostly cowards and parasites. Have other kindred considered a project of that scope? I'm impressed by the range of Julian's plan. And the second phase? Get on with it, Julian, and tell me how I can profit from this scheme even if it can never work. I feel like I should be strapped under some kind of death ray while you explain all this. And maybe I am. I need to get out of this mess before Julian destroys me. I agree with Celeste, Leto says. Many in the Ivory Tower claim to have shaped civilization, but few have. Julian immediately counters, I will. The second phase requires a kind of program for predicting the behavior of people and organizations over the next century, while simultaneously guiding them. That sounds like two things, Leto says. Not anymore. An example: when Leto Kaminsky, private citizen, says, such and such a business is in trouble, no one cares. But what if you say that as Professor Kaminsky of the Santa Fe Institute? Or Governor Kaminsky? Then the world responds. Say there's no future in us manufacturing as President Kaminsky, and that could be the end. I am familiar with post-structural critiques of power and truth, Leto says. Say something interesting, please. The program is a person, Julian says. Or more accurately a Kanite whose baseline personality has been affected by three external sources: the consumption of an elder with a unique set of experiences and skills, constant low-level manipulation through the mental arts of another Kanite, and interface with artificial vitae that has been modified to contain huge amounts of relevant data on human society. I want that vitae out of my bloodstream. I don't want to be part of your crazy experiment, Julian. Was my consumption of Ayla all part of this mad scheme? That ... does not make me feel better about my crimes. I don't say anything. You planned all of this, didn't you? I'll be impressed if my consumption of Ayla was part of Julian's plan. You madman. Julian dosed me with some kind of brain poison. I tried to plan, Julian says with a frustrated laugh. You would not believe how many problems I've had. Your job, Celeste, your purpose is to shape public perception for the next 3 to 5 decades, slowly revealing a larger world to humanity while keeping individual Kanites safe. You understand that this is what my masters tried with the Second Inquisition, right? Leto says. We tried to shape them into a weapon to wield against our enemies. And then we lost control, and now they've burned through Santa Fe and Dallas and my favorite nightclub. They both make good points. How can you stop that mess from happening again, Julian? He's got you there, Julian. This plan is going to blow up in your face. But what other choice do we have, Leto? Julian is right. We can't go back to the 15th century, and we can't maintain the Masquerade forever. I can't, he says. You can. You've learned and grown more in these past few weeks than in the 2 decades since your embrace. You've noticed that, right? That, combined with the programs I've been developing, will let you shape humanity for decades to come. How exactly? Prince Leto asks. Celeste's vampire mind control, man, what do you think? Julian says. I'm not inventing something fundamentally new here, Leto. I'm just using it intelligently. I'm surprised you're not just taking what you want. And that's a major concern. I have no idea how to beat Leto in a fair fight. Or even an unfair one. I expected the Camarilla to just take what they wanted. The traditions are only conveniences and niceties, after all. Leto's laugh this time sounds tired. Tell me you don't trust him, after everything he's done to you. God, I am feeling my age this night. You still think answers can come easily? Both of you think that? Prince Leto's gaze drifts away again. Julian licks his lips as if preparing to strike, and indeed, those moments of distraction might be the one chance you have to stop an elder from doing whatever he wants. But you understand why Leto's thoughts keep wandering. It's the beckoning. Something is calling elders to the Middle East. It called Rira Mouse, it would have called Ayla, and now the Prince of Tucson can no longer ignore its call. Finally Leto returns his attention to you and says, tell me, Celeste, why did you destroy Ayla? Apparently, because Julian manipulated me into doing it. I'm still mad about that. I was young and stupid and wanted power. It still haunts me. Because I could. Ayla was a corpse in the dirt. I dare Leto to say otherwise. I'm not sticking my neck out for the truth. I don't know what you're talking about. Prince Leto snarls. Don't play this game, Celeste, he says. Not now. Yeah, it's pointless, Julian says. Leto knows the truth. But I think he knows the whole truth. Don't you, Leto? The prince's eyes narrow as he turns to look at Julian. You know she was dead, Julian says, when we found her. Not slumbering or in torpor or destroyed or anything like that, not any canite condition. Ayla was dead. Finished. Her will to live extinguished. You don't want to believe that because you loved her, and she loved you, and shouldn't that be enough? But it wasn't. Ayla had seen too much, and she was waiting to die. She didn't stop us. She could have. But she didn't. She let us kill her. By the traditions and the customs of the Ivory Tower, Leto should just trip you both apart by now. Instead he just sighs and shakes his head, because Julian is speaking the truth. When you found Ayla, she was finished. Vampires have immortal life, but not, it seems, immortal will. Sometimes the fire inside just dies, and nothing can rekindle it. Julian, the Prince of Tucson finally says, tell me you needed Ayla and Celeste. But what about the formula you've been working on? Julian shifts unhappily. Ah, yes, the one I just accidentally infected Celeste with. Oh? Leto says. I was supposed to give it to her and explain what it was going to do, but then your thrall found my lab and Dove shut the place up. I want this formula out of my bloodstream before it destroys me. To be fair to Julian, it's not like he intended for the formula to affect me when and the way it did. I want to learn how to use this formula, whatever it is. I mean ... You were hiding right in the Viper, Julian. He is going to use you, Celeste, Leto says. It's not like that. Julian says. We're going to learn about what I've developed together, because no one fully understands what's coming. I'm not foolish enough to think I can predict the future. I'm just trying to shape it. There is only one real question: what will Celeste do? He turns to face you. Julian's eyes narrow. That sounds more like a threat than a question, Prince, the Assamite says. You overestimate my opinion of you, Leto says. Meaning? I've seen attacks on the Masquerade come and go, Julian, Leto says. I saw the Sabbat at the height of their power, remember? Running riot through whole cities. Embracing people in the streets, dumping them in shallow graves, and letting them run free and starving through New York and La. Yet the Masquerade is still intact. You'll fail, too. I'm a little offended, Julian says. Shouldn't you at least try to kill me, out of principle? You can see the fear on Julian's face, but Leto's face shows only resignation. Celeste will be best served by rejecting your foolish plan, it's true, Leto says, but you're not a threat. I apologize if my assessment of you gives offense. But I'm not going to kill anyone tonight. Are you? Julian leans back, rubs his jaw. No, he says at last. You see, Leto says, we are civilized people here. He tries to smile, then his gaze drifts away again, his attention drawn by the beckoning. Julian, this stuff in my veins, how dangerous is it? You talk about powers, Julian. What can the 2100 formula do for me? You're sure you can separate the formula from my blood, Julian? I don't want that stuff in me. This would be a good time for me to lie, and to say that without my help it'll kill you. The truth is that it won't do anything to you. Ayla was no Methuselah, to linger in your veins and slowly take you over. My formula is no Tremere grand ritual that can burn hundreds of people to ash in a single night. It's a new facet of your existence, but not a deadly one. You dimly hear a truck rumble past outside. Rika calls from the roof. Everyone's eyes turn to you. I want a position in the Camarilla. Leto is right, Julian. Your plan can't succeed, and I don't want this stuff in my veins. Remove the formula. I want a position in the Camarilla. Leto is right, Julian. Your plan can't succeed. I'm keeping the stuff in my veins, though. Julian is right, I tell Leto. The Masquerade is doomed. The Banu Hakim and I must work together so Kindred can survive into the future. This may anger them both, but if I play my cards right I can leave this warehouse richer than I entered. What are you two willing to offer me? Leto looks affronted, but Julian only studies the Eagle Prince. The Banu Hakim seems determined to win you to his side, Leto less so. After a brief and vicious haggling session, Julian comes out ahead, offering you a flat $35,500 to Leto's $27,500. And what about the cars? You ask. You want to check them out, and you also want to make sure no hunters are lurking around outside. Not my Serena, Prince Leto says. It is a connection to my homeland. And I like how it handles in snow. I'll throw in the Hispano-Suiza, no problem, Julian says. Or the Camaro, whichever you want. Hell, I'll throw in Leto's shitty Trabant if you want it. No, Leto says. Use that trust bucket for target practice. The Hispano-Suiza Carmen is an all-electric model in shimmering silver, modeled directly on not merely, inspired by, Andrea Bonnet's 1938 Xenia. 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, carbon fiber monocoque, jet black interior trimmed with scarlet to hide the blood. It's probably worth over $1 million, and though of course you couldn't sell it honestly, even on the black market it'd be worth a cool $100,000. The Camaro EOC-Z had seen massive modification, including armored reinforcements and a massive turbo boost. It's still just an 80s muscle car, but it's the ultimate representation of the breed. And maybe taking his servant's car won't annoy Julian as much as taking his. Z has no response as you examine the machine, which you guess is worth $40K or so on the black market, where you'd have to sell it, since it's not really street legal. You'll never get ahead working for the Ivory Tower, Julian says. They'll set you up in some mid-list apartment that looks like an Airbnb and give you a fancy title while they entomb you. I can offer more, Celeste, and you know it. I want a position in the Camarilla. Leto is right, Julian. Your plan can't succeed, and I don't want this stuff in my veins. Remove the formula. I've made my decision. I will join the Camarilla and keep the formula in my veins. Julian is right, I tell Leto. The Masquerade is doomed. Bad idea, Julian mutters. But a decision has been made, Prince Leto says, daring the Banu Hakim to challenge it. I'm a man of my word, Leto, Julian says as he packs up his equipment. Just like you. And I'm not any braver than you either. This isn't worth dying for. But when the world changes in ways you don't understand, one of you had better call me. And, Celeste, maybe you can unlock the secrets of the formula without my help. But things can still go wrong. If they do, call me. I stand up and clasp Julian's hand. It hasn't always been good, but I'm glad things can end well between us. We should get out of here before hunters show up. A bunch of nice cars outside is sort of a signal that we're here. Julian, it's been real. If you ever influence my thoughts or put blood in my veins again, I'll turn you to dust. Don't just disappear, Julian. If the Masquerade ever comes down for real, we'll need your help, and fast. It's been interesting, he says, shaking your hand, and then after a moment's hesitation Leto's. When everything comes crashing down, Leto, you have my email. Get out of my city, Julian, Leto says with a polite smile. That's when the explosion goes off, blasting you off your feet. Shit. I knew something like this would happen. I crawl for safety. I'm always prepared for this kind of thing. I draw my pistol. Where's my meal ticket? I mean, my good friend, Prince Leto? The 2100 tech. I make sure it's okay. Even if I'm not helping Julian, the kindred might need his expertise one night. Elena. I run for the door to make sure she's okay. You duck under the metal folding table, joining a vague pixelated blur that you recognize as Julian whenever he wants to hide. But Leto is just standing there in the doorway. After a moment the shaking stops, and Julian prods you until you're the first one to get up. Still cautious, you step beside the prince and peer outside until you notice an apartment building a few blocks away. One corner of it is a blackened grater, and a SWAT team is already on site. Obedient little morons, Leto says. What the fuck was that? Julian cries, still nothing but a grey blur under the table. The Camaro's driver, Zed, is aiming a personal defense weapon at Leto, who doesn't seem to care. Hellfire missile fired by a Predator drone, Leto says. About a block away, where the Inquisition thought we were. They'll be swarming the building now. I see a mix of FBI, infiltrated 111th Military Intelligence Brigade, and local hunters. No shit? I've been dealing with hunters for a long time, Julian, the Prince of Tucson tells the son of Hakim. But you haven't. This is where we say goodbye, a Semite. I want you out of Tucson before I cleanse this city for the final time. America is becoming the world I remember, the Prince of Tucson says, his hair red gold in the distant flames of the burning building. The world I grew up in. No laws or accountability, just fear and ignorance and sudden spasms of violence. I think I'm a monster, Celeste, because I find it exciting. We can't linger here anymore. We'll split up. Meet me at 300 East 16th Street. Take at least an hour to shake any tails. Once we're there, we're getting rid of the sea in this town for good. The drive is less than 10 minutes, but you know how important it will be to shake any tails. You turn back onto Speedway Boulevard and watch the apartment building as it burns, then take a left and accelerate smoothly up Northstone Avenue. You don't see any of those Buick vans, but you know you're being followed by multiple hunters. They're all over the city now. Semi-independent vampire killers drawn in by the sea's attacks on high-profile targets. And you know what you need to do: lure them in, then leave them in the dust so they can't follow you to the meeting site. Wait, there's one, a Volvo. You've seen it before. A hunter, not sea-affiliated, but still dangerous. You need to shake that tail before you do anything else. He's a few cars back as you wait at a stoplight, not quite willing to commit to an attack right out in the open. But if he joins up with the official sea hunters, it's going to be a problem. I'm looking to leave town with the assets I have. Can I try it now? I'm clever enough to lose the hunter in the maze of alleys and parking lots I've memorized. int/wit plus streetwise, my preternatural senses will help me navigate Tucson's alleys and lose the hunter. Auspex, my BMW is faster than that Volvo. I stay calm and outrace him on a straightaway. Reese plus drive, I'm nimble enough to outdrive that Volvo in traffic. Dex plus drive, I wait until we're both on a bridge, then grit my teeth and slam into him with my BMW, knocking his Volvo over the rail. Reese plus intimidation/drive, I project my aura of dread out of my BMW and ram the hunter right off the road. Presence, I pull up next to the Volvo, draw my pistol, and shoot him in the head before he can react. Dex/wit plus firearms, I shoot the hunter so fast he doesn't even have time to react. Celerity, I use my leadership skills to get Elena to lead the hunter away. Char plus leadership, I pull up next to him. Leave. That won't work forever, but it'll let me elude this hunter tonight. Dominate. The moment he sees you pulling up, he draws his sawed-off shotgun and takes dead aim. Leave. His hands shake, trying to fight your power, but he can't. Almost weeping, he throws the gun into the passenger seat and takes off at full speed. He'll come to his senses in a minute, but that should give you time to elude him for the rest of the night. Is that all of them? You think you're done, but then you spot a Jeep Wrangler as you weave through traffic. Floodlights, winch ... bullet holes. Another hunter. It's time to leave Tucson. For good. I meet up with Elena, then we get out of town. It's over. I've fended off enough hunters for now. I head to Leto's address. I'm looking to leave town with the assets I have. Can I try it now? I'm clever enough to lose the hunter in the maze of alleys and parking lots I've memorized. int/wit plus streetwise, my preternatural senses will help me navigate Tucson's alleys and lose the hunter. Auspex, my BMW is faster than that Jeep. I stay calm and outrace him on a straightaway. Marquis plus drive, I'm nimble enough to outdrive that Jeep in traffic. Dex plus drive, I wait until we're both on a bridge, then grit my teeth and slam into him with my BMW, knocking his Jeep over the rail. Marquis plus intimidation slash drive, I project my aura of dread out of my BMW and ram the hunter right off the road. Presence, I pull up next to the Jeep, draw my pistol, and shoot him in the head before he can react. Dex slash wit plus firearms, I shoot the hunter so fast he doesn't even have time to react. Celerity, I use my leadership skills. The Jeep follows you for 2 blocks, looking for a chance to strike. The moment you reach one of Tucson's big beautiful 6-lane roads, you slam the accelerator. The hunter doesn't have a chance. His Jeep follows you for maybe 100 feet, then he barely avoids a collision with a Honda Odyssey and skids to a halt. You won't see him again tonight. You drive through town, eyes peeled. For a few minutes you think you're clear, but then you spot a Jeep Wrangler as you weave through traffic. Floodlights, winch ... bullet holes. Another hunter. You disappear into an alley, and the hunter follows, but by then you're going the wrong way down a one-way street that's parallel to the alley he's on. He spots you, but that causes him to hit a dumpster. It's only a 5 miles per hour collision, but it startles him and gives you time to lose him deeper in the city. That hunter won't find you again tonight. You drive around for a few more minutes, but the hunters have all moved on. The streets are quiet. You're feeling confident until you realize that they're converging on the Viper. It's time to leave Tucson. For good. I meet up with Elena, then we head out of town. It's over. I head for the address Leto gave me. I really have a chance to join the Ivory Tower tonight. I head for the address Leto gave me. The Camarilla is still my best chance to survive the coming nights. You drive past the address twice, just to make sure you're not being tailed. Riga circles over the unglamorous cement building at the end of a gated street. It looks like an old factory across from some kind of hangar. The third time you pass, the garage door opens, and Carlos signals for you to get inside. You park beside Leto's Serena, but you don't have time to examine the other mostly very nice automobiles. Carlos opens a door and you step into a sumptuously appointed salon decorated in Second Empire style. The walls are blood red, the furniture black or brown and trimmed in brass. Leto and Dove are there, along with their retainers, the old Princess Childer, and a few of the other kindred you've seen before on the rooftop Elysium of the Viper. Olive Krona has sent some of her people, sullen-looking retainers in ICE and FBI jackets. They're not that tough, but they're ideal for disrupting sea operations. Alexander is present, though he's in a wheelchair. The old ghoul will heal eventually, but it might take many nights. When you arrive, Prince Leto crosses to stand behind a small and elegant desk, and says, "Tonight we hurt the Second Inquisition so badly that they leave Arizona for good. Tomorrow we begin the reconquest of Santa Fe and Albuquerque, and the rebuilding of Dallas, El Paso, and Phoenix. Maybe we should focus on surviving tonight before we reconquered the Southwest." But how? You outsmarted them once, but they've infiltrated the whole US government. Can we fight them directly? I'm looking around, and a lot of the people here aren't soldiers. I just stay silent. Prince Leto is building up to a big speech. Prince Leto permits himself a sympathetic look around the room at some of his ragged-looking followers. "Most of you aren't charging off to glory tonight, so don't worry," he says. "We're the Ivory Tower. We outthink our enemies. Let me explain. So far, we've already been able to use the data Celeste and Dispin provided us to make the sea commit a serious blunder. As of 1 hour ago, a half-hour following the unauthorized drone attack on a Tucson apartment building, Agent Donati has been suspended from active duty." The crowd cheers, but Leto holds up a hand. Silence instantly falls. She doesn't care, and neither does the sea. They're operating without formal authority from the FBI or the Pentagon, determined to crush us the way they crushed Flagstaff. The information we gained from Jasper Knowles' data cache has revealed all kinds of interesting information, including for the first time a complete map of the shadow rooms that Jasper Knowles wove through the entire Viper with his sorcery. We discovered some of them when we blundered into Julian Sims' operation, but we did not previously understand how extensive they were. The sorcery that sustains them appears to be failing, but Jasper can serve our needs one last time. The prince unfurls maps of the Viper. Elena studies it, taking in the strange grey lines of sorcerously veiled rooms and passages. So what's in there? Weapons we can use? Are we going to unmake the sea with sorcery? How exciting. I check the map for buried treasure. You never know. Alas, I'm no sorcerer, and you would need months to understand what Jasper did here. No, I have a simpler plan. It was a crueler rage when I was born, Leto says. As a youth, I liked to watch dogs fight bears. I remember one such entertainment: 5 dogs against a single colossal bear. That beast should have won handily, but one dog eluded him by crawling into a corner. The bear kept trying to reach that one dog, even as the others tore his guts out. Your lobo's tail wags in excitement. The sea is like that bear. When they see a target, they attack, and they don't stop. Or think. He taps the map of the Viper. How many biting dogs could we fit in these invisible chambers? Then he glances up at the kindred with him. More than enough. We just need one dog that knows how to hide. Leto's eyes turn to you. The Viper is held by the sea right now. How can we get in? I'm still thinking tactically here. Wait. What happened to that dog? I'm not sure I want to be the dog. All right, I'm interested. Though I'm going to be the dog that bites back. I'm listening. If this gets me a position of respect in the Camarilla and keeps the organization intact, it's my best bet. Good, Leto says. Here is the path you will take inside. He traces it with a finger. You'll end up on the roof, hidden from view, and that will give our people time to move into place. He points out several side entrances that they could take, which will allow them to move through the shadowed rooms. You can see how it works. The sea chases you, gets pinned in the stairwell outside the glass box above the dance floor, and then the kindred can hit them from every direction at once. Even if Leto's people are outnumbered, it'll be a massacre. And from the faces around you, it doesn't look like you have a choice anymore. Elena lowers her shades. The look tells you all you need to know about how much she trusts Leto's plan. Everyone breaks up into small groups to get ready. You'll head out in waves, scatter around the city, and then move at pre-designated times. You check your DW watch. The watch says it's 3:45 a.m. What an interesting time you chose to come to Tucson, Leto says. He's looking east again. Thank you for placing your trust in me. Is this as bad as it's ever been? I need to get in good with the prince, but I'm also happy to learn from him. Give me a blood doll. This one isn't coming back, either. I need every last drop. I go over tactics and plans again and again, until I feel confident that I can move through the Viper. So you really think I'm doing this for free, huh? I shake Leto down for some cash. I perform a ritual to let me move subtly through the Viper and elude detection. Blood sorcery. Though you can use your vanishing arts to turn invisible, you also know a ritual that will help you go unnoticed by blending into walls. The rites of the Hunter's Winds are old Banu Hakim sorcery, strongly associated with Assamite death cults, though you're not necessarily planning any assassinations tonight. Leto's East 16th Street Haven is expansive, and you find a private chapel where you can conduct the ritual in peace. When you rise and study your hands, they blur and shimmer. Stand still, and you'll fade into the background. Perfect. When you return to the salon, only Leto and single retainer are left. You will be pursued on the way to the Viper, of course, he says. That's good. Lure them in, get inside, and move as I told you to move. I will see you soon. The moment you're underway, you pick up another Dale. It's the actual C this time, a black Buick Avenir. The windows are rolled down. Both driver and passenger are in full body armor. A full block behind, Agent Donati's 1963 Ford Fairlane. The Viper is dark, its parking lot empty except for a few police cruisers, militia vehicles, and those big Buicks. You and Elena park facing the Viper. You know the exact route you're going to take once you draw every last C agent to the Viper. And you're pretty sure you know how to get in without getting sniped or swarmed. Green laser sights glitter in the darkness. The main door is open, to allow regular agents quick access in or out, though it's always guarded by at least 2 people. Only a single agent watches the glass VIP door. There are patrols to watch the locked side doors, but you might be able to smash through a lock before they notice you. You count several snipers on the roof, plus regular patrols at ground level. Whatever you do, you can't waste time. You hear sirens all over the city, and they're converging on the Viper. That's a lot of pigs, Elena says. Well, no reason to waste time. Let's go. She buffs her railway glasses and heads back to her Datsun, excited to follow you in. First, this is too dangerous for mortals. Elena, I don't want you to follow me in. I'm strong enough to bash open that side door with my crowbar and slip inside. STR plus clandestine, my ability to fade from sight will buy me extra time to force the door. Obfuscate, my great strength will help me force the door. Potence, I drive the car right up to the main entrance so quickly and nimbly that the guards can't react, then roll inside. Dex plus athletics / drive, I recheck my seatbelt to focus my resolve, then drive right through the glass VIP entrance. It should be easy ... if messy. Reese plus drive, I'll have to be clever to climb the wall in the darkness. But if I can do that, they won't see me and I can reach an upstairs window. I'll have to leave Elena and Inoya behind, though. Wit plus athletics, my enhanced senses will help me climb in the darkness. Auspex, I'll need to be fast and stealthy. I wait for an opening, then sneak past the outer ring of guards and dart inside through the VIP door. Dex plus clandestine, I stay low and move with superhuman speed to the VIP door. Celerity, I fade from view and hurry for the VIP door. Obfuscate, I convince Elena to lure a few guards away from one of the entrances so I can get in. That shouldn't be too hard. Char plus leadership. You bide your time, waiting for the perfect opening, then hit the gas and hold onto the wheel with both hands. The guards see you, but there's some confusion about whether they can open fire. They're still confused when you clip one, knocking her to the ground, yank your e-brake, and skid to a halt right in front of the main door. Inoya bounds out the window and knocks a soldier to the ground, and you follow, opening the passenger door and rolling right up to the main door. You yank it open as bullets crack. They're trying to coordinate a counterattack. That's when Elena's Datsun plows into two FBI agents and skids to a halt. She follows you and Inoya inside. You slam the door. They know where you are, of course. But that's good, they're supposed to follow you, after all. You run into the deserted main dance floor of the Viper, illuminated only by dim red emergency lights, and wonder how long you should wait for them before you keep moving. That's when a black wolf the size of a warhorse crashes through the VIP entrance with one FBI agent in its jaws and another under its paw. The guards inside turn and open fire with their shotguns, but the rounds just bounce off the wolf's impenetrable flesh. Go! Leto shouts to you. Exactly as we planned. He bites another guard in half and shakes him back and forth as you run up the steps. You and your companions follow the route Leto prepared, staying one turn ahead of the shimmering green laser sights the agents have kitted onto their rifles. Now that you know they're there, you can see and use the invisible rooms and blacked-out corners that Jasper Knowles wove all through the Viper with his sorcery. But there's an entire army behind you. Your eventual goal is to position the hunters on the long, narrow stairwell that leads from the dance floor, past the glass observation room, up to the rooftop Elysium. Then the Camarilla can strike from the shadows on either side. She's here for a reason. We need to find her, a voice says. It's Donati. She's coming your way with you. Peek around the corner for FBI agents in full body armor, toting shotguns, axes, and flamethrowers. She's carrying a flamethrower and several flare guns. The big woman keeps moving, but then soldiers with rifles and Phoenix badges head down the hall. Troops from the infiltrated 111th Military Intelligence Brigade are hunting you. You need to seize the initiative and force Donati's people to move the way you want them to move. And you need to do it before you're cornered and caught. Elena and I are quick enough to open the locked doors throughout the Viper, so we can use both the secret passages and the main hallways to lure the sea into position. Dex plus clandestine, I use my unnatural speed to pick the locks so quickly no one can follow me. Celerity, I'm clever enough to stay hidden and listen for the patrols. Wit plus awareness, my preternaturally keen senses will help me elude patrols. Auspex, I fade from sight and outwit the patrols. Obfuscate, I'm strong enough to haul myself through the Viper's ducts and along horizontal pipes, over the heads of inattentive guards. STR plus athletics, my great strength will help me climb over the heads of the agents. Competence, I head for one of the Viper's monitoring stations. There I can use my brains and investigative skills to figure out how the guards patrol. And plus investigation/technology, I'll have to be patient to set up an ambush, but I get into position and shoot down a few agents. Dex/Reese plus awareness/firearms, my supernatural speed will help me gun down some. There's a security office not far from the rooftop. You head there first, but it's guarded by Tucson police. But after a moment's thought, you remember a break room that had a dedicated security terminal. You head back downstairs. The unmarked break room still has a single laptop running next to the coffee machine. You pop it open, and the Viper's security feed loads up. After just a few minutes of analysis, you identify several holes in Agent Donati's security. The Hunter's main weakness is that they always travel in tight packs. Donati is understandably afraid of her people wandering off and getting drained by a vampire, but that means each group is slow to react. You use that information to waste Donati's time for an hour as she chases disturbances that she's never able to catch. "Mom," you hear a voice say in an adjoining room. "The Chiropteran has been sighted outside, over the roof." "That's Kaminsky," Agent Donati says. "We're going to find his little servant, then we'll deal with him. Prepare the 111th to move onto the roof." "Yes, Mom." "Almost. You just need to distract them for a little longer." You keep going as you plan your next move. When you slip around another corner, you reach an improvised server and avenue room and come face to face with a Tucson police officer set to guard it. She raises her 9mm. Inoya gets her first and tears her throat out. A bat flies past you, drizzling a rain of blood. Leto. This recording and monitoring equipment is new to the Viper. It's an NC field office. Screens show the faces of kindred you've seen in Tucson or their retainers, plus live footage of the guards outside. I finish off the dying cop, taking what blood remains in her. We destroy all this computer equipment. The Camarilla can't be compromised like this. Some of this recording equipment is extremely valuable. I grab whatever looks good. I can't waste time and let the hunters close in. I need to keep moving. Even a few seconds of watching reveals that this is far too much information for the sea to have. A lot of this data might already be on the cloud, but you can destroy everything in front of you. There are only 3 actual computers running everything. This room was constructed in haste, and there's still construction equipment, including a cordless power drill. 3 laptops, 3 seconds each with the drill, right through the hard drive. The monitors flicker off. Done. But you can't stay still for long. You keep moving before you're surrounded. Elena and I are quick enough to open the locked doors throughout the Viper, so we can use both the secret passages and the main hallways to lure the sea into position. Dex plus clandestine, I use my unnatural speed to pick the locks so quickly no one can follow me. Celerity, I'm clever enough to stay hidden and listen for the patrols. Wit plus awareness, my preternaturally keen senses will help me elude patrols. Auspex, I fade from sight and outwit the patrols. Obfuscate, I'm strong enough to haul myself through the Viper's ducts and along horizon. You spend another hour infuriating Agent Donati by sneaking past her patrols, luring them out of position again and again, then suddenly vanishing. You overhear more shouted orders a few minutes later. Agent Donati is ordering everyone up to the roof. This is it. You have one last role to play. You just need to get the hunters on the stairwell. You head for the stage overlooking the Viper's dance floor. Donati is below you, surrounded by elite agents, all of them arguing about where the vampires are and how to stop them. They fall silent one by one as they notice you. Finally she looks up. "Get her!" she screams. Perfect. You run. Then you duck an explosion of fire and feel your beast writhe in terror. 4 agents with dragon's breath shotguns close in. "We'll deal with them," Elena says. She shoots one, and then your Lobo jumps into the group, spreading chaos. "Go!" Elena shouts, ducking behind a sound system as the agents open fire. You sprint past the glass-walled observation room overlooking the dance floor, past the hallway leading to Leto's office. Past the kindred, waiting in the shadows. Agent Donati follows you, and it seems like every hunter in Arizona follows her. You reach the rooftop Elysium just as the Camarilla of Tucson explode into violent action. You hear screams, gunfire, bestial growls, every kind of horror as Prince Leto leads his people in the wholesale slaughter of the invaders. Up here, among the cacti and desert trees transplanted to the roof, it's peaceful. The sorcery that hid the Elysium has started to unravel, so you can see the city clearly. The moon illuminates the rooftops of Tucson and the distant mountains. You hear a few sirens, but the city doesn't seem like it's at war. Because it isn't. The kindred are at war, and they fight from the shadows. Riga circles overhead. Behind you, the gunfire dies down. Is that all it took? Less than a minute to kill 100 trained soldiers and officers? You turn around. A bat flutters up the stairs and transforms into Prince Leto. His body is riddled with bullets and his white clothes hang in tatters, like a shroud. Burns mar the left half of his body. Still, he forces himself to rise. Leto is an elder, after all. Agent Donati limps up the steps, riddled with bullets, half her face torn away by claws. As you watch, the wounds start to knit together. You recognize that power. Agent Donati is a ghoul. "You little parasite," Donati says, a huge black shadow against the Tucson skyline. "I've hunted creatures like you for America since before there was an America. I followed them from Rome to the New World. I've been the Inquisition in this country for 100 years. And do you know what I want to do to you, Celeste? I want to put a spike in your brain and strap you to a wall along with all the others. I'd like to feed on you and take your strength, so I can keep destroying vampires. But I'm just going to destroy you because you did this. You did all of this. And now I'm going to kill you, Donati." I edge toward Prince Leto. I don't want him getting hurt. Well, more hurt. "You've lost, Donati. I've never loved what I am, Donati. But I'm not going to let your insane crusade burn this city to the ground. Donati, I'm just trying to survive another night. Maybe if you tried living like that instead of for a cause, all your people wouldn't be dead." "It's all worth it, Celeste. Worth it if I can stop him." She pulls a flare gun and aims it at Leto, smiling through bloody teeth. The weapon bursts into flames, crackling before it fires, showering Donati with sparks. I shoot her down faster than she can pull the trigger. Dex plus firearms, my unnatural speed will let me shoot her down before she can act. Celerity, I force myself to ignore my beast's instinctive terror of fire and cut Donati down with my wakizashi, even if it puts me in front of the flare gun. /res plus combat, my unnatural speed will let me slice Donati to pieces before she shoots. Celerity, I use my vampiric strength to chop Donati to pieces with my wakizashi. Competence, my unnatural speed will let me hit Donati with my fists before she can shoot. Celerity, I drive Vitae to my muscles and beat Donati to death with my bare hands. Competence, I force myself to ignore my beast's instinctive fear of fire and slash her to pieces with my claws. You grab Leto and get him behind the cover of a cactus just as Agent Donati shoots. You drop, and the sparkler blows a hole in the cactus where your head just was. It bursts into flames and forces both you and the mangled eagle prince back across the ruined Elysium. "Come out, Leto!" Donati shouts as she reloads. It's almost over. It's almost. A gunshot. You peer out from behind cover. Donati stumbles, clutching her neck. She tries to aim her weapon at Dove and Carlos as they run up the steps. Dove shoots Donati again. The Nosferatu has armed herself with an old bolt-action rifle. Donati sinks to her knees and tries to raise her flare gun again. That's when the rest of the court arrives. They form a half-circle around Donati and hit her with everything they have: pistols, rifles, shotguns. Someone has a longbow until there's nothing left of her above the waist. Bloody legs topple sideways, and that's the end of Agent Donati. I haven't seen a victory like this since I drew breath, Leto says. He limps down the stairs. The stairwell is choked with dead and dying police, soldiers, agents, unidentifiable hunters, and the vampires that are feeding on them. A few more corpses litter the almost empty dance floor of the Viper. Through the shattered glass wall of the VIP entrance, you see the lights of municipal police. They're all Carlos's people. They won't be a problem. This place is finished, Leto says. He's looking east again. You get right to work tending to the wounded. Several kindred are in torpor, so badly damaged that they can't regain consciousness and regenerate. They get stacked up and loaded in a van for future resuscitation. Many ghouls and regular servants are in extremely bad shape, and you and Leto work to make sure that as many survive as possible. Paternoster embraces one bartender who got caught in the crossfire rather than let her die. The rest of the night is spent in evacuation mode. The Second Inquisition might be defeated here in Tucson, and, thanks to the devastating effectiveness of Prince Leto's plan, all across the Southwest. But a gang war in a local nightclub will eventually draw in the regular police. The children of the old prince work overtime, turning their mental powers and political influence to concealing the evacuation. Dove destroys any evidence of kindred activity in the Viper, while Leto makes sure everyone has a place to stay when the sun rises. You help wherever you can. You end up back in Leto's haven, standing in the shower to wash the blood and soot off your body, a few minutes before sunrise. Then you wrap yourself in a silk robe and collapse on a cot with an Oya at your feet the moment the sun rises. When you awaken the next evening, Dove and Carlos are in the salon watching 5 screens that are all blaring the news from the night before. Botched corruption sting, Dove tells you. That's the cover story we settled on. It'll take weeks to make it stick, but we've done this sort of thing before. She glances back at you and manages a brief nod. It seems you've won her over. I'm going to order some Thai food, Elena says. She's wearing an old aviator jacket she found in a closet that's several sizes too big. Anyone want anything? No? Everyone here but me is dead? Okay. Where's Prince Leto? Carlos asks. Leaving, Dove says. Like, for good? Carlos says. Are you prince now? For good, Dove says. She sounds tired, though she just rose. And I don't know. They both glance your way, but only for a moment. So the question is ... now what? One answer is obvious: you could have a place in the ivory tower now. After everything that happened, they need couriers they can trust. Not ragged independent couriers. A dedicated in-house intelligence and recon force to rebuild the networks among the cities and restore order after the loss of so many elders. And after years of fighting the Second Inquisition. There's a place for you here. On the other hand, you could strike out on your own, possibly with the material support of Tucson's Camarilla. From what you hear, Seattle is a key city for the Ivory Tower's blood trade. You could head up north and, if you have enough venture capital, try to strike it rich. Really establish yourself in a way you couldn't here. But you still feel the alien vitae inside of you, the 2100 formula. You've heard that a scholar of the blood dwells in Denver, someone who could answer a lot of your questions. With the briefcase full of Julian's program research, you should be able to make inroads there. The only difficulty will be finding this scholar, and avoiding the hunters who suspect what kind of power you carry in your blood. If you head for Denver, you'll have to hope that you've left the Masquerade intact enough here that you can reach Colorado without an army of hunters following you. Finally, maybe you could just try to live a life. You're dead, of course, but you could try existing as a person, if only for a few years. You've heard that San Francisco is a good place for that sort of thing ever since the old prince left for La. Maybe you could cultivate your humanity and try to live, instead of simply exist. I remain with the Tucson Camarilla and take my place among them. Camarilla, Elena and I are heading to Seattle with every dollar we have to establish ourselves in the blood trade there. Mobile assets, Elena and I cover our tracks and head for Denver to unlock the secrets of my transformed blood. Masquerade, Elena and I head for San Francisco. I just want to be a person for a few years. Humanity. The first thing you do is follow Dove and Carlos up to the roof of Prince Leto's haven. You and Elena aren't quite sure what's going on until you hear the rumble of an airplane engine. A twin-engined prop plane, a Piper twin Comanche, rolls down the little used road outside. Its side door opens, and Rieger flies in. "He's really doing it," Dove says. "Elders are weird. Can he even make it?" Carlos asks. The little plane picks up speed faster than you were expecting and leaps into the air above Tucson. It circles once. Prince Leto banks and offers all of you a brief wave. Then he turns the plane east, toward the beckoning. You all watch from the rooftop as he rises into the twilight clouds and disappears. You and Eleni get out of there as they linger on the roof. 1 month later. The laboratory has been sealed up since the early 90s. It's full of dusty biomedical equipment covered in plastic, old desktop computers, and deeper in the shadows instruments of antiquated medicine, primitive surgery, and alchemy. "This is it," Professor Liverman says. "It took 2 weeks to track down the old man, but his assistance has proven invaluable. This is what you've been after. The secondary laboratory of Jacob Prester, destroyed 30 years ago after decades of strange experiments on the blood. Books in French, English, and Latin line the walls. A faded photo is on one desk, Jacob Prester, Jasper Knowles, and a dark man you only recognize through an offhand description, Julian Simsire. The 2100 formula began here." Elena immediately starts taking inventory. "No one else knows about this place," Liverman says. "Just me. The old prince is gone. All the old powers in this city have left. Here it is, you realize. All the answers, and all the time you need to find them. You've been on the road for years. But you might be able to stay here for a long, long time." You open up a notebook at random. "There is no limit to what the blood can accomplish," the first sentence says. "One need only understand. The end of the road. And the beginning of a new journey."